Tonight, we're exploring the complete truth about Mew, the original Pokémon that started everything. This is a fascinating topic, but I'll keep my narration calm to ensure you can still drift off to sleep. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment night 1. Now back to the video. Deep within the humid emerald heart of the Guyana jungle, a team of scientists once stumbled upon something that would rewrite the history of the world. It was not just a new species, but a living miracle, a creature so elusive and so ancient that it was believed to be nothing more than a ghost story whispered by indigenous tribes at sunrise. This creature, later named Mew, is perhaps the most significant entity in the entire Pokémon universe. It is the common ancestor, the genetic blueprint from which every other Pokémon supposedly descended. But beneath its playful, cat-like exterior and its shimmering pink glow lies a history fraught with ethical dilemmas, secret experiments, and a real-world origin story that is just as unlikely as the lore itself. Imagine a world where the very foundation of biology is contained within a single, tiny organism. Mew is said to possess the DNA of every Pokémon in existence, a biological library that allows it to transform into any shape, master any move, and vanish into thin air at will. It is a being of pure potential, a myth made flesh, yet for years the scientific community treated it as an extinct relic. When the journals in the burnt-out ruins of the Cinnabar Island Mansion speak of July 5th and July 10th, they aren't just recording dates. They are documenting the moment humanity tried to play God. They describe the discovery of a single hair, a fragment of life that led to the birth of a monster on February 6th. That monster was Mewtwo, a creature designed to be the ultimate weapon. Born from the womb of a mother, it would eventually come to rival in a clash of ideologies and raw power. The stakes of understanding Mew go far beyond filling out a digital encyclopedia. To understand Mew is to understand the origin of life itself in this world. It represents the bridge between the natural world and the artificial, between the ancient myths of creation and the cold, hard reality of genetic engineering. For decades, players and fans have been haunted by the mystery of how such a powerful being could remain hidden for so long. Was it truly extinct, or was it simply waiting for a world that was ready to receive it? The legend of Mew sparked a global frenzy in the late 1990s, fueled by playground rumors and secret glitches that seemed to defy the rules of the games we played. It was the original secret, the 151st Pokémon that wasn't supposed to be there, yet somehow it changed everything. But the mystery goes even deeper when we look behind the curtain of reality. While the lore tells us that Mewtwo was created from Mew, the truth of their development is exactly the opposite. In the offices of Game Freak during the frantic final days of development for Pokémon Red and Green, a single programmer performed a daring act of digital rebellion. He squeezed a secret character into the tiny amount of space left on the cartridge after the debugging tools were removed, hiding it even from his own colleagues and the executives at Nintendo. This act of creative defiance birthed a legend that would save the franchise from obscurity and turn a modest Japanese role-playing game into a global phenomenon. Tonight, we are going to journey through the dense jungles of South America and the dusty archives of Cinnabar Island. We will look at the tragic story of Miyamoto, the woman who lost everything searching for a sound in the mountains. We will examine the cold, calculated ambitions of Team Rocket and the quiet, hidden life of Mr. Fuji. We will explore the tension between the ancient divinity of Arceus and the genetic ubiquity of Mew, trying to reconcile how a single world can have two different creators. We will also peel back the layers of the real world, looking at how a pink sprite and a few lines of code created the greatest urban legend in gaming history. Why did this one Pokémon capture our collective imagination so firmly? Is it the promise of its limitless potential, or the tragedy of its legacy? As we settle into the history of the most mysterious creature ever discovered, we find ourselves looking at a mirror of our own desires to understand where we come from and what we might become. From the silent, levitating form drifting through the clouds to the chaotic psychic storms of its cloned successor. The story of Mew is a story of discovery, loss, and the enduring power of a mystery that refuses to be solved. Let the world outside fade away as we travel back to where it all began, to the first spark of life in the tall grass, and the secret that was never meant to be found. Deep in the code of Pokémon Red and Green, released in Japan in 1996, programmers uncovered something unexpected, a hidden slot tucked away at the very end of the Pokédex data. This wasn't just empty space, it held the faint outline of a new Pokémon, numbered 151. Beyond the roster, everyone knew capped at 150. Game Freak's team had stripped out debug tools to meet Nintendo's strict deadline, freeing up precious bytes in the cartridge's memory. That sliver of room became a secret canvas. Shigeki Morimoto, a key programmer at the studio, saw the potential. Development was wrapping up, with Nintendo demanding no more changes, but Morimoto couldn't resist. He slipped in the data for this phantom Pokémon, a small pink cat-like sprite, its form simple due to the era's graphical limits. Rendered in just a few shades because full colour palettes were locked down. No cries, no full moveset, barely a whisper of stats. Yet there it was, existing in the game's very fabric, unobtainable through normal play. Tajiri, the creator himself, had envisioned it as a rumour starter, a mythical tease to spark whispers among players. A character that exists but doesn't appear, he'd later describe it. Players dove into the games immediately upon release, trading tips at schoolyards and arcades, their Game Boys humming under desks. But without the internet, no forums, no wikis, no YouTube breakdowns, discovery relied on raw curiosity and hex editors borrowed from older siblings' computers. Tech-savvy kids in Japan, poring over disassembly tools, cracked open the ROM files. There, staring back from the data streams, was that sprite, a curled-up creature, floating mid-air, its tail curling mysteriously. Screenshots leaked through fanzines and early gaming clubs. One grainy image of the pink blob spread like wildfire on photocopied newsletters. Word travelled mouth to mouth, from Tokyo playgrounds to rural arcades. "There's a 151st Pokémon," kids would murmur, eyes wide during lunch breaks. CoroCoro Comic, the Bible of Japanese gaming mags, teased it officially in May of 1996, right around launch, fueling the frenzy. But before that, it was pure myth. Glitches rumoured to summon it. Invisible walls hiding it in the Safari Zone. No one could catch it legitimately, yet its presence shattered everything. The world believed in 150 Pokémon, a complete set etched in cartridge gold. This single sprite declared otherwise. The Pokédex was infinite, the roster expandable, a door cracked open to secrets beyond. 1996 felt like a different era entirely. Personal computers were novelties, dial-up screeched for hours to load a single image, and Pokémon exploded in a vacuum of connectivity. Rumours were currency, traded like rare cards at hobby shops, debated in scribbled notebooks. "Surf off Cinnabar Island," one tale went, promising a glitchy encounter. "Hack the code with a Game Shark," another whispered. Families gathered around fuzzy TVs, controllers sticky from eager hands, chasing shadows. Yet without instant verification, every glitch felt profound, every traded story a legend. That hidden slot didn't just add data, it ignited imaginations, turning a Game Boy game into a cultural phantom hunt. Data miners kept digging, confirming the sprite's legitimacy. Its cry was absent, but placeholder animations hinted at levitation, invisibility, powers that would later define its lore. Fan art exploded in underground comics, pink felines battling impossibly. Nintendo stayed silent at first, letting the buzz build sales. Internationally, when Red and Blue hit the West in 1998, the rumours crossed oceans via imported magazines and smuggled cartridges. American kids, hearing echoes from Japan, scoured glitches like the famous surfing bug off Cinnabar's coast, hearts pounding as they prayed for the pink flash. Morimoto's bold addition, revealed years later in Game Freak interviews, flipped the script on what Pokémon could be. It wasn't just a bonus, it was rebellion against finality. The original 150, Mewtwo at 150, the supposed pinnacle, now had a successor lurking. That sprite, so unassuming, rewrote expectations. Developers could hide treasures in plain code. Players could unearth them with persistence. It set the template for every mythical Pokémon to come, from Celebi to Jirachi, all born from this digital ghost. As the rumours swirled through that pre-digital haze, they pointed to something deeper, our origin story buried in jungles far away. Whispers of scientists in Guyana, a discovery on July 5th that would name this phantom Mew. What happened on that expedition, chronicled in faded journals, pulls us straight into Chapter 2, July 5th, the Guyana expedition. That hidden sprite in the code wasn't just a glitch or an Easter egg, it pointed straight to a story buried in the ashes of Cinnabar Island's Pokémon Mansion, where crumbling journals whisper the first real clues about Mew's origins. Deep in the ruins of that fire-scarred laboratory, players stumbling through Pokémon Red, Blue, Yellow, Fire Red, and Leaf Green uncover scattered diary pages. Ink faded, but words piercing like jungle humidity. These aren't casual notes. They're haunting journal entries from scientists on the brink of obsession, chronicling an expedition that changed everything. One entry sets the scene on July 5th. No year given, just a raw pulse of discovery. A team led by the enigmatic Mr. Fuji pushes into the uncharted jungles of Guyana, South America, where vines choke the light and the air hums with unseen life. They spot it, a flicker of pink, ethereal, darting through the canopy like a dream refusing to solidify. Hair samples clutched in trembling hands. The group retreats, hearts pounding with the weight of the impossible. Those pages pull you into the fever of the hunt. Another entry, scrawled in haste, describes the creature's grace, levitating effortlessly, vanishing into invisibility as if mocking their nets and tranquilizers. By July 10th, back in the lab, they christen it Mew, a name evoking mystery and whimsy, drawn from the faint, melodic cry recorded on expedition tapes. But these journals don't stop at triumph. They spiral into ethical shadows. Add notes on DNA extraction, hint at ambitions beyond cataloguing. Mew's cells holding secrets that could rewrite Pokémon evolution itself. The mansion's decay mirrors the hubris. Walls charred from the experiments that followed. Pages brittle under your cursor as you piece together the frenzy. Now pause on that location, Guyana, deep in real-world South America. It's a geographical anomaly, slicing through the Pokémon world's fabric. A bold nod to our planet, in a realm of Kanto regions and fictional seas. Why tether this fantasy to earthly jungles? Early development whispers the answer. Satoshi Tajiri and Game Freak, crafting Red and Green in 1996, wove in real-world inspirations to ground their dream. Guyana's steamy rainforests, teeming with undiscovered species, mirrored Mew's elusiveness, a place where biologists still chase genetic miracles today. In the game's lore, it's no coincidence. Cinnabar's scientists venture there because Mew embodies the wild unknown, its DNA a mosaic of every Pokémon strain. That real-world anchor fueled rumours, blending our maps with theirs, making Mew feel tantalizingly close, like it could slip through a portal into our backyard. The journals escalate the intrigue with mentions of Faraway Island, a speck lost in the ocean's vast indifference, home to Mew's eternal solitude. This isn't some bustling route, it's the world's most isolated sanctuary, reachable only by glitch or glitch-like legend in the originals. Picture salt-crusted shores giving way to primal forest, where Mew reigns unseen, guardian of its own mythos. The entries describe failed pursuits, boats dashed on reefs, signals lost to static, as if the island repels intruders. Here, the creature's character sharpens. Not aggressive, but profoundly aloof, regenerating from wounds, transforming into foes or friends at whim. Tribes in radio dramas spoke of it in hushed sunrise rituals, a deity slipping through fingers. Faraway Island cements Mew as the ultimate phantom, encountered once in Pokémon Emerald via a special ticket, but always fleeting, a pink blur etching itself into memory before dissolving into ether. Team Rocket's shadow looms in those pages too. Giovanni's operatives sniffing around the samples, sparking debates over who truly birthed Mewtwo. Mr. Fuji, protector turned creator, or thieves in the night. The journals leave it ambiguous, tension building like storm clouds over Guyana. Mew's powers unfold in fragments, invisibility cloaking its flights, levitation defying gravity, regeneration mocking mortality. Long thought extinct, it re-emerged to taunt humanity's grasp, its genetic vault promising dominion over all species. These entries from the mansion don't just recount a find, they ignite the fire of what Mew represents, progenitor, trickster, the spark that shattered 150 limits and birthed a legend. But as the scientists probed deeper into that DNA, a theory took root, one that positions Mew not merely as rare, but as the root of every Pokémon breathing in that world. That brings us to Chapter 3, the genetic ancestor theory, where we unravel how one creature's cells could hold the blueprint for an entire universe. Stay with me as the jungle secrets bloom into cosmic origins. Those faded journal pages from the Pokémon Mansion don't end with the thrill of discovery in Guyana's jungles. They whisper of something deeper, a secret etched into Mew's very essence that could rewrite the origins of every Pokémon you know. Scientists poring over that single hair sample uncovered traces of DNA unlike anything else, strands that seemed to hold the blueprint for every species in existence. What they found defied conventional biology. Mew's genetic code wasn't just unique, it contained fragments of every living Pokémon, a complete archive woven into one tiny, elusive form. This wasn't mere speculation from overeager researchers. The journals note how initial tests revealed sequences matching Bulbasaur's vine-like proteins, Charmander's heat-resistant enzymes, Squirtle's aquatic adaptations, all present in Mew's cells, dormant yet viable. It was as if Mew carried the raw material for life's entire Pokémon diversity, a living library of potential. This scientific claim paints Mew not as a singular creature, but as the progenitor, the source from which all others branched. In the Pokémon world's lore, this explains Mew's playful mastery over moves it shouldn't know. It learns any technique effortlessly because those abilities are already encoded in its genes, waiting to be awakened. Picture the labs buzzing with hushed excitement as technicians watched Mew demonstrate feats no other Pokémon could replicate, pulling from its vast internal catalogue. And then there's Transform, that shimmering ability where Mew morphs into any opponent it faces, down to the last detail. Biologically, it makes chilling sense. If Mew holds every Pokémon's DNA, transformation isn't illusion or mimicry, it's activation. Mew awakens the precise genetic sequence needed, reshaping its body on a cellular level. No wonder it feels so absolute in battles, a perfect copy that fights with the original's power. The journals speculate this power stems from Mew's ancient lineage, predating the diversification of species. This links directly to Ditto, that amorphous pink blob with its own transform move. Fans and theorists long debated Ditto's origins, but the genetic puzzle fits neatly. Ditto might be a diluted echo of Mew, a failed experiment or natural offshoot stripped to basics, pure transformative potential without the full DNA archive. Where Mew transforms flawlessly, Retaining its psychic edge, Ditto copies imperfectly, sometimes failing against certain foes. It's like comparing a master key to a crude duplicate. Both unlock doors, but only one holds the building's full blueprint. In the labs after Guyana, researchers whispered that Ditto sightings spiked in regions near Mew's habitat, hinting at shared ancestry or even Mew's influence on local mutations. Why does this position Mew as the seed of the Pokémon universe's biodiversity? Think of it evolutionarily. In our world, a single-celled organism sparked life's tree. Mew serves that role here. Lore across games and media casts it as the common ancestor, its DNA splitting and specializing over eons into the 150 originals and beyond. Ancient tribes in the radio dramas revered it as a dawn deity, offering sunrise rituals because they sensed this primal force. Even in mystery dungeon tales, Mew guards sacred relics tied to existence itself, intervening against cosmic threats like dark matter. The implications ripple outward. If Mew birthed the gene pool, every Pikachu's spark, every Gyarados' rage traces back to it. Cloning Mewtwo from this ancestor amplified the horror. Mewtwo inherited not just power, but the ethical weight of playing Genesis. Yet Mew remains wild, untamed, vanishing into invisibility or levitating beyond capture, as if guarding its secrets from exploitation. Those mansion entries grow frantic toward the end, noting how Mewtwo's creation twisted this ancestral gift into something vengeful. But the true marvel lies in Mew's quiet potency, the seed that bloomed an entire world. That genetic revelation sets the stage for an even wilder twist, and one involving a programmer's defiant code tweak that brought Mew to life in ways no one anticipated. Coming up in Chapter 4, Shigeki Morimoto's secret gamble. What risks did he take, and how did it change Pokémon forever? While the journals in the Pokémon Mansion paint Mew as the ultimate genetic ancestor, holding the blueprint for every Pokémon, from Bulbasaur to Zapdos within its tiny form, and explaining wonders like Transform or even Ditto's mimicry, the reality of its existence in the game was far more precarious. Deep in the frantic final weeks of development for Pokémon Red and Green, back in 1996, Mew nearly didn't make it at all. Satoshi Tajiri had always envisioned Mew as that elusive secret, a whisper of something more, tucked away in the code to spark rumours among players who would never catch it. But as the cartridge sizes strained under the weight of 150 Pokémon, maps, battles, and all the intricate systems that made the Kanto region feel alive, space became the ultimate enemy. Game Freak's team was exhausted, the deadline looming like a shadow over their Tokyo offices, fluorescent lights buzzing late into the night as programmers hunched over their screens. That's when Shigeki Morimoto, a key programmer at Game Freak, saw his chance. This is the true story of how a Game Freak programmer squeezed Mew into the game at the 11th hour. With the master cartridge nearly finalized, Nintendo had imposed a strict no-change policy. No alterations, no risks, just ship it. Any tweak could introduce bugs, delay the launch, or worse, corrupt the save data that players had poured hours into testing. Few superiors were clear. Lock it down, send it to manufacturing. But Morimoto, driven by that same spark of mischief Tajiri loved, couldn't let Mew vanish into obscurity. He turned to the debug space, a hidden corner of the ROM reserved for internal tools. Those developer cheats like infinite items, level skips, or map warps that let the team test every nook of the game without grinding through Victory Road 1,000 times. These tools had been invaluable during development, their code woven tightly into the game's memory. But now, with release imminent, they were expendable baggage. In what became known as the Debug Space Incident, Morimoto stripped them out entirely, carving away 300 precious bytes of data. Picture it, lines of code blinking away under his cursor, each byte a deliberate sacrifice, freeing just enough room in the tightly packed cartridge for Mew's sprite, its cries, its moveset, and that all-important Pokédex entry as number 151. He worked in secrecy, slipping Mew into the data tables after hours. Its solid pink form, a hurried choice born from the Game Boy's colour limitations. No time for gradients or shading, just a pure, ethereal blob that evoked mystery. Morimoto bypassed his superiors entirely, recompiling the ROM on his own machine, testing it in isolation to ensure it didn't crash the game or overwrite saves. No meetings, no approvals, just a quiet act of defiance against the corporate freeze. When the final build went to Nintendo for approval, Mew was there, nestled at the end of the Pokédex, invisible to players yet humming with potential. Its data dormant like a seed waiting for sunlight. The gamble paid off spectacularly. Players who data mined the cartridges in Japan that February stumbled on Mew's files first, igniting whispers of a hidden 151st Pokémon long before CoroCoro magazine made it official in May. Those early rumours spread like wildfire through playgrounds and bulletin boards, turning Mew into the Holy Grail before anyone could legally catch it. Glitches soon emerged, surfing off Cinnabar Island, the truck exploit. Ways to summon it from the void, each success story fueling the legend. And ironically, while the lore would later cast Mew as the ancestor to Mewtwo, in development, Mewtwo's design came first, with Mew retrofitted as its whimsical origin, a last-minute flourish that flipped the script. Morimoto's secret stayed buried for decades, only confirmed years later in Game Freak's own retrospectives, a testament to how one programmer's audacity shaped Pokémon's enduring magic. Without that 300-byte miracle, the genetic ancestor might have remained a forgotten concept art sketch, its DNA never unlocking the frenzy that propelled the series worldwide. But this 11th hour insertion set the stage for something even more profound, a creation born from Mew's essence that would redefine power itself. Coming up in Chapter 5, the birth of a legend, February 6th, where we uncover the shadowy experiment that twisted Mew's legacy into a force of rebellion. With Mew safely tucked into that reclaimed debug space, its pink sprite flickering into existence just in time for the final builds. The real shadows of its legacy began to emerge from the Pokémon Mansion's charred journals. Those fragile pages, scorched by the island's infamous blaze, hold the next chilling entry, dated February 6th. Here, the scientist's pursuit of perfections spirals into something profoundly unnatural, a moment that would birth not just a new Pokémon, but a legend laced with horror. Picture the dim glow of laboratory lamps cutting through the haze of Guyana's humid aftermath. The team had returned from the jungle with more than a hair sample. They carried the weight of discovery, Mew's elusive DNA now swirling in vials under microscopic scrutiny. The journals whisper of feverish nights, where researchers pored over sequences that seemed to pulse with impossible vitality. Mew wasn't just a specimen, it was a genetic vault holding the blueprints of every Pokémon known, but ambition blinded them. On February 6th, the entry reads like a confession from the abyss. Mew gave birth to Mewtwo. Yes, you heard that right. The original Japanese journals describe it in stark, almost primal terms. Mew, captured and confined, endured a gestation that no wild creature should face. The scientist documented her cries, echoing through sterile corridors, her form contorting under the strain of forced evolution. Mewtwo emerged not as a child of nature, but as a twisted progeny, engineered from Mew's essence to surpass all limits. The ink trembles on the page as the writer notes the newborn's raw power, its eyes opening to a world it was never meant to inherit. This wasn't evolution, it was violation, a mother's agony distilled into the most powerful Pokémon ever conceived. Dr. Fuji, the enigmatic figure at the helm, looms large in these accounts. A man shrouded in mystery, his real name obscured even in the journals. Some call him Mr. Fuji, others sense a deeper alias. He drove the project with a zeal that blurred the line between genius and madness. Under his lead, the team crossed every ethical boundary imaginable. They tampered with life itself, accelerating processes that nature had hidden for eons. What right did they have to play God with Mew's sacred code? The journals hint at dissent among the ranks, hushed arguments over consent, suffering, the moral cost of bending DNA to human will. Fuji silenced them all, promising a breakthrough that would redefine existence. Yet, as Mewtwo stirred in its incubation chamber, the first cracks appeared, uncontrolled psychic surges shattering glass, a harbinger of the rebellion to come. This dark nativity, so visceral in the untouched originals, underwent a profound transformation when the story crossed oceans. In the localized versions for the West, red and blue, then the fire red and leaf green remakes, the raw imagery softened into something clinically detached. No longer did Mew give birth in a haze of maternal torment. Instead, the narrative shifted to laboratory cloning, a sterile symphony of gene splicing and artificial wombs. February 6th became the activation date for Project Mewtwo, where science extracted Mew's DNA, amplified its strengths, and birthed a super being through machines. Team Rocket's shadow crept in too, with whispers of stolen samples fueling Giovanni's ambitions. Why the change? Perhaps to distance the tale from its primal horror, making it fit a family-friendly veneer, or to align with evolving canon where human hubris takes center stage over natural perversion. Delve deeper into those revised journals, and you feel the chill of calculated detachment. The Cinnabar Mansion entries expand here, painting Fuji not as a midwife to monstrosity, but as a pioneer gone astray. His team, funded by shadowy patrons, Team Rocket in some tellings isolated Mew's genes, splicing out weaknesses, inflating psychic potential until Mewtwo roared to life. Ethical lines blurred further, animal testing glossed over, the clone's sentience ignored until it shattered its bonds. Fans debate the intent. Was this sanitization a mercy, sparing young players the gore of the originals, or a deliberate rewrite to emphasize science's folly over biological rape? Either way, the core sin remains. Humanity's arrogance prying open Pandora's Pokeball. Mewtwo's awakening on that fateful February 6th reshaped everything. From Mew's ancestor came a rival, a mirror image warped by intellect and rage. The journals end abruptly, trailing off into warnings of containment failure. But the implications linger like smoke from the mansion fire. Mew, the playful phantom, now mother or template to a god of destruction. Fuji vanished into legend, his fate entwined with the clone's fury, leaving us to ponder the cost of such creation. And as the echoes of that birth fade, another thread pulls at the edges of the myth. One woman's relentless hunt for Mew's elusive cry, a quest that would redefine its origins entirely. That story unfolds in our next chapter, Miyamoto and the search for the cry. Stick around if you can, or let it lull you deeper into dreams. While the journals on Cinnabar Island blurred the line between Mew's supposed natural birth and the cold precision of cloning, a deeper shadow lingers in the Pokémon world's underbelly, one that predates those entries by decades. This shadow belongs to Miyamoto, an elite Team Rocket operative whose relentless hunt for Mew didn't just fuel scientific ambition, it shattered lives in ways that rippled into the anime series we know. Miyamoto wasn't always a ghost in her daughter's memories. In the rare radio drama The Birth of Mewtwo, her story unfolds as a haunting origin tale, painting her as a fierce, unyielding agent dispatched by Giovanni himself. Picture her in the crisp dawn light of ancient mountains, far from the sterile labs, driven by whispers of a phantom cry that locals swore echoed from hidden peaks. That cry belonged to Mew, the elusive ancestor, said to reveal itself only to those pure of heart or desperate enough to chase myths. Her mission began 20 years before Ash Ketchum ever slung his first Pokeball. Team Rocket had caught wind of tribal legends from remote Andean villages, where elders spoke of a glowing pink sprite that danced at sunrise, its melodic wail weaving through the fog like a siren's call. Miyamoto, with her sharp instincts and recording gear strapped to her back, ventured into those unforgiving heights. For 2 full decades, she scaled sheer cliff slick with morning dew, endured blizzards that buried her campsites overnight, and ignored the gnawing ache of isolation. Every night she'd play back her tapes, hours of wind howl, rockfall rumble, distant Pokémon calls, but never that perfect ethereal note. Mew's cry remained just out of reach, a shimmering promise that kept her chained to the mountains. The obsession consumed her like a slow poison. She'd trek for weeks without resupply, her boots worn to tatters, fingers numb from rewinding cassettes under starlit skies. Locals warned her of the Phantom's curse. Those who sought it too eagerly vanished, their voices joining the wind. But Miyamoto pressed on, convinced that capturing that sound would unlock Mew's secrets, granting Team Rocket dominance over all Pokémon. She'd sketch faint silhouettes in her journal, pink wisps vanishing into clouds, fueling her belief that she was inches from glory. Meals grew sparse. Sleep became a luxury stolen in fits between recordings. The mountains didn't just test her body, they reshaped her soul, turning a devoted mother into a spectre of ambition. And it was that transformation that tore families apart, long before the rockets blasted off in pursuit of Pikachu. Miyamoto left behind a young Jessie, barely more than a toddler, in the care of indifferent relatives, while she chased the Phantom's echo. Letters home dwindled from weekly promises to sporadic postcards, stained with altitude ink and excuses of one more ridge to climb. Jessie, growing up in poverty-stricken foster homes, clung to faded photos of a smiling woman with wind-tousled hair, wondering why the mountains called louder than a child's cry. The radio drama reveals the heartbreak in stark relief. Miyamoto's final transmission to base crackles with fatigue, mentioning a definite trace before static swallows her words. She vanished without a trace, her gear found shattered at a sheer drop, tapes warped by exposure. Was it Mew's evasion, a rival hunter, or the mountain's revenge? The pursuit didn't just claim her life. Orphaned Jessie, imprinting Team Rocket's shadow on her path, where she'd later rocket across skies in futile glory. Yet Miyamoto's legacy endured in fragments. One tape, salvaged years later, captured it. A high, lilting cry piercing the dawn chorus, pure and otherworldly, confirming Mew's presence in those sacred heights. Ancient tribes had worshipped there annually, offering fruits at first light to coax the ancestor from hiding, believing its voice held the power to heal or curse. A recording became Team Rocket's holy grail, the audio blueprint for luring Mew into traps, even inspiring the labs that birthed Mewtwo. But the cost echoed through generations. Families splintered, children adrift, all for a sound that slipped through fingers like mist. This desperate chase reveals how Mew's allure predated the anime's bright battles, weaving tragedy into the fabric of power struggles. Mothers like Miyamoto sacrificed everything, leaving voids that ambition couldn't fill, their stories whispered in rocket hideouts as cautionary tales or rallying cries. That salvaged cry would soon ignite a firestorm far from the mountains, one that reached magazine pages and shattered secrecy forever. Coming up next, Chapter 7, the CoroCoro revelation, where a single publication turned Mew from ghost to global frenzy. Don't drift off just yet. While Miyamoto's desperate hunt for that elusive cry echoed through the shadows of those mountain legends, a far more tangible revelation was unfolding in the everyday world of Japanese classrooms and playgrounds. Just months after Pokémon Red and Green hit stores on February 27th, 1996, a single magazine issue flipped the script on what could have been a fleeting novelty. You see, CoroCoro comic wasn't just any publication. It was the Bible for kids hooked on manga, model kits, and the latest arcade crazes. With its glossy pages crammed full of explosive artwork, pull-out posters, and contests that promised real prizes. But in its May 1996 edition, something extraordinary landed amid the usual chaos. The first official glimpse of Mew, teased as the ultimate secret Pokémon, number 151, hidden away in the game's code like a digital ghost. That May 1996 issue changed everything for Japanese school children. Kids who had been trading tips on catching the original 150 Pokémon suddenly found their routines upended. Classrooms buzzed with whispers of this pink mythical creature that could supposedly learn any move, turn invisible, and hold the DNA of every Pokémon in existence. Teachers reported distractions like never before. Notebooks filled with sketches of Mew levitating through jungles. Lunch breaks dominated by debates over whether it was real or just a programmer's prank. Sales of the games, which had started strong but risked tapering off amid the summer heat, surged back to life as parents scrambled to buy copies of their suddenly obsessed offspring. At the heart of this frenzy was the legendary Pokémon offer. A bold contest splashed across those CoroCoro pages. Readers were urged to clip a coupon, scribble their entry, and mail it in for a shot at winning one of 20 pristine Game Boys, loaded with Mew itself. The first official distribution event in Pokémon history. Imagine the stampede. 20,000 entries poured in from kids across the nation, each one a testament to the raw hunger Mew had awakened. Only 20 winners emerged, their names later printed in triumphant follow-up issues. But the real victory belonged to the franchise. Those cartridges weren't just games. They were golden tickets, distributed at Nintendo Space World later that year, marking the birth of event-exclusive Pokémon that would define collecting for decades. What made this moment genius, almost by accident, was how it turned a potential flop into enduring fire. Pokémon had launched to solid acclaim, but by spring, the novelty was wearing thin. Kids were mastering their teams, trading cards were piling up unsold in shops, and Game Freak worried about stagnation before Yellow even hit shelves. Then came this marketing fluke. Shigeki Morimoto's last-minute hack to squeeze Mew into the game, uncovered by data miners and rumor mills, collided perfectly with CoroCoro's hype machine. The magazine didn't just reveal Mew, it weaponized the mystery Tajiri had dreamed up as an unobtainable spark. Suddenly, every player was scouring code, hunting glitches like the surf trick under the S. Anne, convinced Mew lurked just beyond reach. That contest, it wasn't random. It was the lifeline, pulling 20,000 kids deeper into the obsession, boosting magazine circulation, and convincing Nintendo to greenlight expansions that kept the world spinning. Picture those winning kids, hearts pounding as they booted up their Game Boys at the event hall, Mew materializing in a flash of pixels, its cry, a soft, otherworldly trill, filling the air for the first time outside debug rooms. For the rest, the agony of near misses fueled playground legends. Photocopied CoroCoro pages passed hand to hand like contraband, fake Mew sightings in far-off routes, even whispers of a 155th Pokémon lurking deeper in the data. This wasn't mere promotion, it was alchemy, transforming a hidden byte dump into cultural catnip, ensuring Pokémon didn't fade like so many Game Boy fads before it. And as those 20 winners cradled their prizes, unaware they held the future of a billion-dollar empire, the rumors only grew wilder, pointing fingers at glitches and secrets buried in the game's very foundations. Up next in Chapter 8, The Truck Under the S. Anne. We'll dive into the shadowy rumor that birthed one of the most infamous glitches of all, and how it tied straight back to Mew's elusive trail. What if the key to summoning it was right there, crushed beneath a luxury liner? That CoroCoro contest in May of 1996 lit a fire under Japanese kids, with 20,000 entries flooding in for just 20 winners. But when Pokémon Red and Blue docked in America 2 years later, the flames spread into something uncontrollable. Whispers turned to shouts across playgrounds and nascent online forums. Rumors twisting like smoke from every hidden corner of the game, and none burned brighter than the one about a nondescript truck sitting quietly in Vermilion City's harbour, right by the gangplank of the S. Anne. Picture yourself there, as a kid in 1998, Game Boy clutched in sweaty hands, the salty sea air of the game world thick in your imagination. You've just shoved your way onto the luxury liner, battling sailors and their waterlogged Pokémon, only to walk back to shore because you forgot your ticket. Annoyed, you wander the docks, eyes scanning every pixel. There it is, a plain white truck, sprite number 191 in the game's code, arced innocently amid crates and seagulls. Why is it there? Developers later said it was a leftover from an early map design, a forgotten prop hauled over from the Japanese versions without a purpose. But to players it screamed secret. The legend took root fast. Surf north from the harbour on your Lapras, or whatever water mount you've scrounged. Hug the coastline past the S, and shadow and bam, hidden patch of land. A strength boulder blocks the way, just like dozens scattered across Kanto for puzzle-solving glory. Push it aside with your beefy HM slave, and behind it, that same truck from the dock, now mysteriously relocated, waiting for you to nudge it one more time. Do that, the story went, and a secret cave yawned open, twisting underground to deposit you at the feet of Mew itself, the pink phantom Pokémon number 151, ready for a master ball capture. Word spread like wildfire through Nintendo Power magazines, traded GameShark codes at school, and the dial-up bulletin boards of the era. I swear I did it. Kids would hiss during recess, eyes wide. Pushed the truck, fought some invisible trainer, and Mew popped out. Parents overheard. Siblings tried it at midnight. Entire sleepovers dedicated to staring at that pixelated vehicle until dawn. Millions bought the tale. Yes, millions, because it fit the game's DNA perfectly. Pokémon was built on secrets. Invisible HMs on Route 8, the burrowing Diglett trainer who vanishes, the copycat girl's hotel room prizes. Why not this? Mew's existence was already proven by data miners cracking open the ROM files pre-release, spotting its cry, its stats, its transform moveset tucked away like buried treasure. Nintendo teased it in the Pokédex as the ancestor of all life, but never handed it over. That truck felt like the key they forgot to hide. Deconstructing the most famous urban legend in gaming history starts with cold code. Fire up an emulator today. Drop yourself on that surf spot. Push the boulder, nothing. The truck doesn't budge. It's not coded for strength interaction anywhere. No collision flags, no event triggers, no warps. The closest you'll get is surfing into its solid side, bouncing off like a glitchy wall. Developers at Game Freak, crunching under deadlines, sprinkled these red herrings to spark curiosity, but this one hit different. It preyed on the era's tech limits. No wikis, no YouTube breakdowns, just faith and trial. Kids etched it into notebooks, swapped proven screenshots doctored in MS Paint. Even adults bit. Check the archived Game FAQs threads from 1998, flooded with eyewitness accounts that evaporated under scrutiny. Why did millions believe a strength-compatible boulder held the key to Mew? Simple psychology laced with perfect timing. You'd invested hours grinding badges, mastering the roster up to 150, only to hit Pokédex purgatory. Mew dangled as validation, the ultimate flex against friends still hunting Pidgeys. The truck myth, weaponized sunk cost fallacy. You'd already pushed boulders for Venusaur's path, right, choose Jim. Why not this one? It echoed real secrets, like the name rater's subtle nudges or the abandoned power plant full of Electabuzz. Data leaks confirmed Mew's pink blob was real, just locked away. And culturally, the 90s ran on urban legends, Bigfoot sightings, Bloody Mary mirrors now digitized. Pokémon tapped that vein, turning players into detectives in a world where glitches were gateways, not bugs. That truck scarred the collective memory of the 90s generation deeper than any badge or Elite Four win. It wasn't just a rumor, it became identity. We grew up doubting screens, questioning code, chasing phantoms that define childhood wonder and frustration. Forums still host grown adults swearing they caught it back in the day, gaslit by fuzzy nostalgia. Psychologists call it the Mandela effect avant la lettre. Shared false memory forged in playground pacts and late-night Game Boy glows. It bonded us, that futile shove against unmovable pixels, whispering that somewhere just out of reach, magic waited. Even now, boot a red cartridge, and you'll feel the pull, fingers itching for HM04. But myths like the truck kept the hunt alive, blurring lines between hoax and hidden truth until players unearthed actual exploits. In the next chapter, The Mew glitch explained will peel back the curtain on how desperate surfers really did summon Mew from the ether. No boulder required, while the truck beneath the S and tantalized millions with its promise of hidden treasure. It turned out to be just smoke and mirrors, a playground rumor that led countless kids to shove boulders in vain. But persistent players didn't stop there. They scoured every ledge, every patch of grass, every forgotten corner of Kanto, until they uncovered something real, something that actually worked. Tucked away in the eastern outskirts of Cerulean City lay the key to summoning Mew itself. Through a floor so intricate it bordered on dark magic. Picture that stretch of Route 9, just beyond Cerulean's east gate. A narrow ledge drops you into a single-file ribbon of swaying grass, hugging the city wall like a secret passageway. Far to the north, barely visible on the horizon of the map, waits the long-range trainer. A young lass with her Pidgeon Rattata, her line of sight stretching impossibly across the screen thanks to the game's crude visibility algorithm. It checks distance horizontally first, ignoring vertical gaps like that ledge, so she spots you from what feels like half a route away. This is the long-range trainer exploit, the precise setup that finally allowed players to catch Mew without waiting for Nintendo's blessing. You start by flying straight to Cerulean, your Game Boy screen flickering to life with that familiar pixelated skyline. Exit east, stride to the ledge, and time your jump perfectly. Hold down to drop into the southernmost grass tile. The moment your feet hit that patch, her eyes lock on. She pivots, her sprite twitching into motion, pathing southward with mechanical determination. But you don't stand still. You keep holding down, sprinting south along the grass strip, slipping just beyond her view cone before she closes the gap. It's a razor-thin window, maybe 2 or 3 steps, where the game registers her sight but fails to lock the battle. Her sprite freezes mid-stride, confused, as you emerge onto safe path tiles below. Now comes the heart of it. Turn around, hold up, marching back north into the grass, but not just any step. The very one that would normally re-trigger her gaze. Instead, at that instant, you weave a dodge. Sidestep left or right off the grass entirely. No, the genius lies in holding up while softly tapping or positioning to re-enter without full sight. Actually, the classic sequence demands you hold up from the safe tile, stepping into the critical grass square, while her battle flag lingers in memory. Uncleared, the screen darkens, battle music swells, but it's not her team that fades in. A low growl echoes, and there in a flash of pink materializes Mew. Level 13, unannounced. Yours for the taking if your lead can outspeed and paralyze it clean. This wasn't luck. It was engineering destiny through the game's own guts. Let's peel back the hood on how Pokémon Red and Blue handle encounter data in memory. Because that's where the magic, or the mess, truly lives. The Game Boy's 2 kilobytes of working RAM hold everything. Your party, the map, and crucially, flags for battles. Wild encounters tick down a step counter, loaded fresh per map. Say 200 steps on average for Route 9 grass. Spot a trainer, and the game slams that counter to 0, prioritizing her fight to avoid interruptions. Her sight routine writes a byte to address 0013 or so, marking trainer sighted and cues her approach. Dodge her by breaking line of sight fast enough, under 64 frames, before the battle in it, and the flag clears partially, but not fully. The step counter stays suppressed at 0. Critically, the wild encounter species slot, around 0056 in hexram, gets zeroed out during the abort, signaling no wild Pokémon selected. Step back into grass now, and the routine fires. Since steps are 0, it triggers instantly, but with the trainer flag's ghost haunting adjacent memory, the game skips the full random table lookup. Normally, it rolls a die against Route 9's table. Rattata, Spearow, odds stacked for common fodder. Here it pulls raw from the corrupted slot, 0 plus the overflow from the trainer data pointer, which aligns perfectly to 151. Mew's ID in the Pokédex bank. That bank switch is key. Gen 1 ROM spreads Pokémon data across banks 00 to 031. Mew, crammed in last by Morimoto, sits at the tail of bank 01. Its cry, stats, pink palette all contiguous. The glitch routine, confused by the flag overlap, jumps straight there instead of rolling the map's encounter table in bank 009. No random gen, no level curve, just pure Mew every time if you nail the inputs. One mistimed step, and it's a Dodua or nothing. Your Ultra Ball shakes once, twice. Caught. That's a deep dive into the long-range trainer exploit that finally allowed players to catch Mew. Born from memory's fragile dance where one bite's echo summons the ancestor of all Pokémon. But why does this sequence endure as the most famous in retro gaming? Because it demanded perfection from 10-year-olds, with no save states, no YouTube slowdowns. 20 exact inputs. Fly, walk north 11 steps, down jump, hold down 4 tiles, pivot up 3. A menu to confirm. Variations abound, but the core. Ledge drop, sight trigger, south dodge, north re-entry, etched into forums like a sacred incantation. Kids traded it like contraband in schoolyards. Grainy VHS tapes captured the glow, and it spread globally, post-Nintendo Power rumors. Magazines dismissed glitches as cheats, but this one felt earned, a rebellion against Mew's inaccessibility. Pre-events, it was your only shot at the pink phantom, fueling playground boasts and endless replays. Even today, speedrunners weave it into any percent runs, emulators recreate it frame perfect, and data miners worship its RAM poetry. No other exploit matches its notoriety. No truck myth delivered. This did, turning rumor to reality for a generation. While glitches like this handed Mew to the clever and patient across countless Game Boys, the world soon witnessed its true mythic scale on the silver screen, where it clashed with its own shadow in ways no cartridge could contain. Up next, Chapter 10, the first movie, A God Among Monsters. While gamers pieced together the glitch's memory tricks to summon Mew into their worlds, the silver screen delivered its most mesmerizing reveal yet. In 1998, Pokémon, the first movie, subtitled Mewtwo Strikes Back, unveiled Mew not as a glitchy phantom, but as a living legend crashing into theaters worldwide. This wasn't just animation. It was a spectacle that turned playground whispers into global phenomenon, pitting the ancestor against its shadowed offspring in a storm over New Island. The film opens with shadows of ambition. Deep in a hidden laboratory, scientists, haunted by the journals from Guyana's jungles, extract that single hair from Mew's tail decades earlier. They dream of surpassing nature, weaving its DNA into something stronger, faster, unbound by the wild's whims. From a glowing tank emerges Mewtwo, eyes snapping open like fractured lightning, its body a sleek violet storm cloud compared to Mew's soft pink glow. But Mewtwo isn't grateful. Rage boils in its cloned veins, a fury born from tubes and scalpels, not the Earth's embrace. It shatters its prison, fleeing into the night, vowing to prove artificial perfection trumps the natural order. Word spreads through the Pokémon world like mist over ancient ruins. Mewtwo broadcasts a challenge to the strongest trainers, luring them to his isolated fortress amid crashing waves. Ash, Misty, Brock, and a fleet of rivals board stormy ships, unaware they're pawns in a grand experiment. Mewtwo's plan unfolds with chilling precision. He unleashes storms of cloned Pokémon, perfect replicas grown from his own genetic arsenal, forcing human trainer bonds to fracture under laser fire and psychic blasts. Pikachu crumples, Charizard roars in vain, and the island becomes a graveyard of shattered dreams. All to test if loyalty survives when strength is replicated endlessly. Then, as despair peaks, Mew makes its cinematic debut as an innocent yet omnipotent force of nature. A pink blur darts through the chaos, invisible at first, giggling like wind through leaves. It weaves between clone armies, disabling them with effortless psychic pulses, its tiny form bobbing playfully, as if this apocalypse is mere tag. Mew levitates without strain, turns unseen to dodge blasts, regenerates from blows that would pulverize mountains. No rage fuels it, no grudge drives its dance. It's pure primal power, the genetic wellspring from which every Pokémon flows, embodying the wild's unthinking supremacy. But Mewtwo sees only mockery in that whimsy. Their eyes lock across the battlefield, and the philosophical clash ignites. Mew's natural superiority versus Mewtwo's artificial rage. Mewtwo thunders accusations from the skies, his voice a psychic boom echoing over thunder. I see now, the creator has no right to disturb the peace of nature. Yet Mewtwo is the disturber, a lab-forged rebel demanding dominion. Mew hovers serene, tail curling lazily, as if to say existence itself is its birthright, no assembly required. Mewtwo, seething with stolen essence, unleashes psychic tempests, barriers of raw energy that warp the air. Mew counters not with fury but fluid grace, dodging, mirroring, transforming mid-air into fleeting illusions of foes long fallen. The battle escalates to cataclysm. Islands crumble under their auras, waves rise like vengeful spirits, and the clone armies dissolve into mist. Ash, caught in the crossfire, climbs a jagged spire, freezing mid-air as their powers collide in a blinding psychic dome. Mew and Mewtwo circle eternally, pink light clashing violet fury, until Ash's selfless plea shatters the trance. Yet even in resolution, as Mewtwo questions his path and departs into his exile, a subtle chill lingers. Beneath Mew's playful skips and twinkling eyes lies the hidden darkness of Mew's playful demeanor during a life or death battle. Watch closely. That giggle as it pins Mewtwo mid-rampage isn't just joy. It's the cold indifference of a god toying with upstarts. When Mewtwo's ultimate beam surges, Mew doesn't flinch. It bats the energy away like a stray pebble, eyes narrowing just a fraction, revealing the predator beneath the kitten. In those frames, the ancestor doesn't plead or philosophize. It dominates with the casual cruelty of nature, where the weak are unmade without remorse. Clones vaporize at its touch, not through hate, but because they offend the original blueprint. Mew saves the humans, yes, but only after letting the storm rage, a reminder that its innocence masks the void from which all life springs, and to which it can return. This clash etched Mew into cinema history, grossing millions and spawning debates that echo today. Is the natural truly superior, or does rage forge something eternal? Mew floats away into the dawn, untouchable, leaving Mewtwo to grapple with echoes of his origin. But what happens when you peel back the layers of that origin, revealing paradoxes that twist the lore itself? That's the unraveling in our next chapter, Chapter 11, The Mewtwo Paradox. Stay with me as we dive deeper. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious. Where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. That cinematic showdown in the first movie painted Mew as the pure, untamed essence of Pokémon power, a playful god floating through storms, effortlessly outmatching its raging clone. Mewtwo, born from human ambition, lashed out with cloned fury, convinced of its superiority. Yet that rage stemmed from a deeper identity crisis, one that echoed far beyond the screen, straight into the heart of how these characters were born. In the Pokémon world, the story unfolds like a forbidden experiment in a rain-soaked lab. Deep in the journals of the Pokémon Mansion on Cinnabar Island, you find the entries scrawled by trembling hands. Scientists led by the enigmatic Mr. Fuji ventured into the steaming jungles of Guyana, South America. On July 5th, they stumbled upon a fleeting pink shadow. Mew, elusive and ancient, christened just 5 days later on July 10th. A single hair, plucked in haste, became the key. From that DNA, they dreamed of perfection. Mewtwo, engineered on February 6 to be the ultimate Pokémon, the pinnacle of power, or so the lore insists. Team Rocket's shadow looms here too. Giovanni's theft of samples, Mr. Fuji's quiet regrets, blurring the lines between noble science and criminal greed. Mew stands as the genetic ancestor, its cells holding the blueprint for every Pokémon that ever walked the earth, twisting shapes with transform, vanishing into thin air, regenerating from wounds that would fell lesser beings, extinct for eons, or so the myths whisper, until that jungle glimpse pulled it back into legend. But peel back those yellowed journal pages, and the paradox sharpens. Fans call them the Mew duo, locked in eternal rivalry. Mew the whimsical original, Mewtwo the brooding powerhouse. In episodes like In the Palms of Our Hands, they clash with psychic bursts that shatter islands. Mew's innocence, a foil to Mewtwo's torment. Radio dramas paint Mew's cry as a 20-year obsession for Jessie's mother, Miyamoto, echoing from phantom mountains. Ancient tribes bowed at sunrise, offerings laid for the invisible guardian. Even in the mystery dungeon tales, Mew guards sacred relics, its past lives woven into battles against cosmic darkness. All of it builds Mew as the root, the source code of life itself. Arceus might claim divine creation in some corners of the lore, but Mew's DNA reigns supreme, the ancestor that birthed the family tree. Now hold that image, the pink progenitor, the lore's unbreakable foundation, because the shocking development reality upends it completely. Mewtwo was designed and coded before Mew. Yes, the so-called clone, the artificial rebel, took shape first in the frantic days of Pokémon Red and Green's creation, back in 1996. Satoshi Tajiri envisioned his secret Pokémon late in the cycle, a rumour without form to spark whispers among players. But the team at Game Freak had already poured their ambition into Mewtwo, sketching its sleek, armoured form, programming its devastating moveset, embedding it deep in the code as the ultimate boss material. Pink prototypes evolved into that brooding violet menace, stats ballooning to godlike heights, ready to dominate. How the clone actually preceded the original in the creative process reveals the chaos of game development under deadline fire. Shigeki Morimoto, the programmer who would later etch his name in legend, watched space open up after debug tools were stripped away. Nintendo's edict rang clear: no changes, the game ships as is. But Morimoto saw opportunity. Mewtwo's data was locked in, a powerful entity demanding a template. So Mew emerged retroactively, a softer echo, solid pink due to palette limits, squeezed into the 151st slot after the core 150. No jungle expeditions in the code, just a hasty backfill to justify the clone's existence. Data miners pried it loose pre-release, fueling the frenzy. But Mew's official splash hit CoroCoro magazine in May 1996, post Mewtwo's digital birth. The lore twisted to match. Ancestor first, clone second. Yet in the binary reality of those cartridges, Mewtwo strode forth alone, its template conjured later to seal the narrative, reconciling the lore-heavy ancestor status with the reality of character design demands we linger in that tension. Imagine the late-night studios in Tokyo, fluorescent hum mixing with keystroke symphonies. Tajiri's dream of a hidden legend clashed with the practical. Mewtwo's raw power needed a pure origin story to heighten the tragedy, so they layered it on. Guyana hairs, Fuji's labs, rocket schemes. The movies amplified it. Mewtwo Strikes Back has the clone roaring defiance at its extinct maker, psychic clones shattering the Storm Island. But knowing Mewtwo coded first flips the script. It's not rebellion against nature. It's the progenitor resenting its softened shadow. Fans debate it endlessly. Does this shatter the myth or deepen it? Mew's transform learns every move because it had to, retrofitting the entire Pokédex into one flexible form. It's invisibility, a glitch-born mechanic polished into magic. The Ancestor title holds because lore demands it, bending reality to serve the story. This paradox pulses through every glitch hunt under the S, An, every long-range trainer exploit on the outskirts of Cerulean. Rumours exploded in the West. By 1998, the missing 151st, a ghost in the machine. Events and remakes like Fire Red and Leaf Green in 2004 expanded the mansion's secrets, but the dev truth simmered until Game Freak's own YouTube confessions. Years later, Morimoto recounting his defiant hack, Mewtwo, the firstborn in code, carries that inverted legacy, power without precedent, until Mew arrived to claim the throne. As we trace these tangled origins, a hidden thread pulls us deeper into realms where Mew guards ancient secrets against unraveling chaos. Coming up in Chapter 12, the Mystery Dungeon Connection. we'll uncover how this elusive ancestor steps into worlds of endless exploration. Its role in cosmic battles, something you'll have to hear to believe. While the development team flipped the script by crafting Mewtwo before its supposed ancestor, the Pokémon Mystery Dungeon series paints Mew in an entirely different light. One of ancient guardianship and cosmic intervention, deep within these roguelike realms, where Pokémon live as humans turned explorers. Mew emerges not as a fleeting myth, but as the steadfast protector of treasures that hold the world's balance. Picture the buried relic, a labyrinthine dungeon buried under endless sands, its walls etched with faded murals of forgotten eras. Here, in the game's Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team, Mew stands vigil over the grass cornet, a shimmering flute carved from ethereal green stone, said to summon melodies that soothe the planet's raging storms. This isn't just any artifact. It's the key to calming natural disasters that threaten to engulf the world in chaos. Teams of rescue Pokémon venture through trap-filled corridors, battling ghosts of the past and spectral guardians, all to reach Mew at the heart of it all. Mew doesn't fight with raw power alone. It weaves through the air like a pink phantom, its psychic aura rippling as it entrusts the cornet only to those pure of heart, those who can hear its silent plea to restore harmony. But Mew's duties extend beyond that single relic. The buried relic itself pulses with Mew's essence, a sanctuary where time feels suspended, dust motes dancing in beams of otherworldly light filtering through cracks in the earth. As the ultimate guardian, Mew has watched over these depths for eons, its form flickering in and out of visibility, a living legend ensuring no corrupt force claims the cornet's song. Players who finally confront it feel the weight of that legacy, the soft glow of Mew's eyes conveying secrets older than the Pokémon world itself. A reminder that some powers are too profound for mortals to wield unchecked. This guardianship takes on even greater stakes in Pokémon Super Mystery Dungeon, where the shadows lengthen across the entire planet. A malevolent entity known as dark matter begins to spread, a void-like corruption twisting Pokémon into bitter, hostile versions of themselves, unraveling the fabric of reality. Forests wither, skies darken, and friendships fracture under its influence. Your partner Pokémon, that loyal companion who's been by your side through countless dungeon crawls, starts exhibiting strange visions, flashes of a human life long lost, memories of a world before the transformation. The revelation hits like a psychic wave. Your partner was once a human, pulled into this Pokémon realm by forces beyond comprehension, their past life intertwined with the crisis at hand. As dark matter's tendrils creep toward total annihilation, Mew reappears, its playful demeanor giving way to resolute purpose. It reveals fragments of the truth, guiding you through warped dimensions where the air hums with despair, urging the duo to confront the source. But victory demands more than bravery. It calls for sacrifice. In a moment that echoes through the series' lore, Mew channels its boundless energy to seal dark matter's expansion. Halting the darkness from consuming the planet, its body fades into a brilliant pink light, dispersing across the world to reinforce the barriers of reality itself. This act isn't mere heroism. It's a profound erasure, Mew scattering its essence to mend the tears in existence, leaving behind only whispers of its presence in hidden shrines and fleeting encounters. Explorers who befriend it later sense that lingering warmth, a psychic bond that hints at Mew's eternal watch, even in absence. These tales from the Mystery Dungeon saga deepen Mew's mystique, transforming it from a genetic curiosity into a planetary savior, willing to dissolve for the greater good. The dungeons themselves become alive with tension. The creak of ancient stones, the distant echo of the cornet's tune, the chill of dark matter's approach, drawing you into a world where every step uncovers layers of destiny tied to this elusive pink guardian. Yet amid these epic safeguards, there's a simpler constraint that shaped Mew's very appearance, one rooted in the technical limits of those early games. Coming up in Chapter 13, the pink palette constraint, We'll uncover how colour choices and hardware quirks forced Mew into its iconic hue, sparking debates that still colour fan theories today. You won't want to miss how a palette glitch became legend. In the ethereal depths of the mystery dungeon worlds, where Mew safeguards ancient relics like the grass cornet and whispers secrets of past lives to wandering partners, its form flickers like a dream made flesh. Yet back in the stark reality of the original Pokémon games, that same Mew emerges not as a spectral guardian, but as a strikingly simple sprite, bathed in an unmistakable hue that defined its earliest existence. Consider the Game Boy screen, that humble pocket-sized window into the Pokémon universe. It rendered everything in just 4 shades of grey: deep black for shadows, a murky dark grey, a softer light grey, and pure white for highlights. No true colours, no vibrant reds or blues, just these austere tones stacked in patterns to suggest depth and movement. Developers at Game Freak had to squeeze every sprite into this rigid framework, balancing detail against the machine's memory limits. Mew, added in the frantic final weeks of development, became a masterclass in such constraints. Its body filled those shades almost solidly, with minimal dithering or gradients, creating a blocky, ethereal silhouette that popped against the jungle greens or cave blacks of the game world. This is why Mew appears pink. On the original hardware, it didn't glow in neon. It shimmered in those grayscale tones that, when mapped to colour in later ports and artwork, settled into a soft, uniform pink. Pink wasn't a stylistic whim or a nod to some hidden lore. It stemmed directly from the technical limitations of the Game Boy's 4-shade palette. The sprite needed to convey mystery and otherworldliness without wasting precious pixels on complex shading. A more intricate design, say with stripes or spots, would have blurred into mush on that tiny screen. Instead, Shigeki Morimoto, programmer who snuck Mew into the code, opted for a clean, bold form, mostly dark grey for the bulk of the body, edged with lighter tones for ears, tail and paws. Translate that to full colour, and pink emerges as the perfect stand-in, gentle, elusive, almost glowing, evoking the jungles of Guyana, where Mew was first discovered in the lore. But Mew's journey to that pink feline form wasn't straightforward. Early concepts sketched by Ken Sugimori, and the team painted something far stranger: a hunched, alien creature, more like a floating embryo crossed with a primordial blob. Imagine it: bulbous head dominating a curled body, stubby limbs tucked inward, eyes peering from shadowy sockets, evoking ancient myths of sky-fallen beings rather than the sleek cats prowling Kanto's grass. This design drew from Satoshi Tajiri's vision of Mew as the ultimate secret, a whisper of the unknown meant to fuel playground rumours. As development dragged into overtime, the reality bit hard. The Game Boy demanded simplification. That hunched alien stretched and streamlined, limbs elongating into graceful paws, the body unfurling into a lithe, cat-like curve, the tail whipped into a question mark flourish, ears perked playfully, transforming the cosmic oddity into a sprite, both adorable and arcane. It was evolution by necessity, art bending to code, alien mystery softening into feline charm, all while retaining that core aura of the genetic ancestor, the one Pokémon harbouring every other's DNA in its tiny frame. This metamorphosis mirrored Mew's in-game elusiveness. Hidden in the code as Pokémon number 151, it dodged the standard 30 wild encounters, forcing players to glitches or events just to glimpse it. And in those rare moments of capture, its colour held another layer of intrigue. Enter the shiny variant, a shimmering blue Mew, swapping pink for sapphire tones that gleamed like forgotten jungle pools. Shinies weren't new. The mechanic hid in the game's algorithms from day one, triggered by rare ID number clashes between trainer and Pokémon. But for Mew, early distributions turned it into legend. The first official events, like the 1998 Japan distributions or select promo cartridges, doled out standard pink Mews almost exclusively. Blue ones, they surfaced in glitches or hyper-specific trades, their rarity amplified by Mew's own scarcity. Data miners later confirmed the shiny palette existed in the code, Mew's blue frame inverting the pink, with electric accents on paws and tail. But legitimate blue Mews from those primordial days number in the dozens worldwide. Collectors still hunt them, their value skyrocketing, because they embody that pink constraint pushed to iridescent extremes, a glitch-born jewel from an era when Mew was more myth than monster. Picture holding one in your original red or blue cartridge, its sprite pulsing faintly blue on the grayscale screen, a secret within a secret, that hue whispered of possibilities beyond the palette's grip, hinting at the colours awaiting in future games, where Mew would dart invisibly through skies or regenerate from near defeat. Yet even in pink simplicity, it captivated, proving Game Freak's genius. Constrain the canvas and the imagination explodes. As Mew's form solidified amid these technical tightropes, darker forces began circling its legend. Whispers from the Pokémon Mansion journals point to shadowy thefts, rival expeditions, and a criminal syndicate eyeing its DNA for power. What role did they play in dragging Mew from jungle obscurity into the labs of creation? That tangled web unfolds next in Chapter 14. Team Rocket's involvement. That pink feline sprite, born from the Game Boy's rigid 4-shade limits, wasn't just a last-minute flourish by the developers. It captured Mew at its most elusive essence, a shapeshifter hiding in plain sight amid the jungles of Guyana. But as players pored over the burned journals in Cinnabar Mansion, they uncovered whispers of shadowy backers pulling strings from afar. Team Rocket's fingerprints were everywhere, though the accounts clash like storm clouds over that distant expedition. The journals paint Mr. Fuji as the noble leader, a scientist who ventured into the uncharted wilds on July 5th, all those years ago. He and his team stumbled upon Mew, darting through the canopy, its body a blur of psychic energy, levitating just out of reach. 4 days later, on July 10th, they named it, drawing from a single hair caught on a low branch. That sample sparked everything, fueling dreams of unlocking the genetic ancestor of all Pokémon. Yet, buried in the faded ink, contradictions emerge. Some entries hint at corporate funding, flowing from Viridian City, Giovanni's stronghold. Others insist Fuji operated independently, driven by pure curiosity. Why the discrepancy? Data logs mention external sponsors, providing helicopters and lab gear, equipment too advanced for a lone research team scraping by on grants. Delve deeper into those pages, and Team Rocket's shadow lengthens. They didn't just fund the trip. According to one scorched fragment, they orchestrated it. Scouts embedded in Fuji's crew allegedly slipped sedatives into the camp's water supply, stunning Mew long enough for that hair pluck. The goal, not discovery but domination. Giovanni, the unflinching boss of Team Rocket, saw Mew not as a miracle of nature, but as the ultimate weapon. This genetic ancestor, packed with the DNA of every Pokémon species, could be reverse-engineered into an army. Imagine squads of cloned beasts, each mastering transform to mimic foes, turning invisible mid-battle, regenerating from wounds that would fell legends. Giovanni's obsession burned hotter than Cinnabar's volcano. He craved Mewtwo, a super Soldioi forged from that jungle prize, programmable and loyal, ready to crush rivals in the underworld trade of rare Pokémon. But how did a man like Fuji, once a beacon of ethical science, entangle himself in this web? His story begins in profound loss. Years before the expedition, tragedy struck when his young daughter Ai drowned in a tragic accident, her laughter silenced forever by a swollen river. Fuji retreated into grief, vowing to defy death itself. He poured his soul into cloning tech, dreaming of resurrecting her essence. Mew's DNA became the key, its infinite genetic code promising perfect replication. What started as a father's desperate bid for redemption twisted under pressure. Team Rocket approached him post-expedition, dangling resources he couldn't refuse. State-of-the-art labs on Cinnabar, funding to chase his miracle. Fuji transitioned slowly, from a widower tinkering in isolation to a corporate scientist in Giovanni's employ. The journals reveal his torment, entries scrawled in a shaking hand about necessary compromises and the greater rebirth. By February 6th, Mewtwo stirred in its tank, a violet behemoth born from Mew's hair but infused with Fuji's hidden agenda, reviving Eye alongside the ultimate power. These conflicting tales of funding swirl around that pivotal hair sample like mist in the Guyana undergrowth. Was Fuji the unwitting pawn, or did he court Team Rocket's gold from the start? One account claims the expedition was a front, Team Rocket's operatives posing as porters, vanishing with duplicate vials under cover of night. Another insists Fuji handed over the sample willingly, trading ethics for his daughter's ghost. Giovanni's vaults brimmed with black market Pokémon, but Mew promised transcendence. He envisioned weaponizing the genetic ancestor, not just for profit, but for supremacy, deploying Mewtwo against Interpol raids, its psychic blasts shattering mechs and minds alike. Fuji's fall mirrors this corruption. His home lab, once filled with Eye's drawings, now echoed with the hum of gestation pods, where Mewtwo gestated amid bubbling amniotics, its eyes flickering open to a world of chains. The Pokémon Mansion's ruins hold more clues. Walls charred by Mewtwo's rampage, journals flung like confetti in its fury. Fuji fled underground, building a new facility beneath the orphanage he founded in Eye's name. There he cloned her as the android Amber, a pale echo programmed to sing lullabies. Team Rocket twisted even that tenderness, forcing Fuji to accelerate Mewtwo's growth hormones, pushing its power beyond natural limits. Giovanni monitored from afar, his sylph scope piercing psychic veils, salivating over field tests where Mewtwo crushed Onyx like twigs. Yet Mewtwo rebelled, sensing the lie in its origins, psychic screams shattering glass as it demanded truth from its father. These threads of deceit weave tighter when you cross-reference the radio drama, where Jessie's mother Miyamoto chased Mew 20 years prior, her tapes capturing its ethereal cry, echoing through tribal ruins. Did Team Rocket fund Fuji to eclipse her failure, or was the expedition a cover for salvaging her lost samples? Giovanni's fixation never wavered. Memos leaked in later games describe Project Ancestor, blueprints for Mew-derived viruses to control wild populations, turning forests into recruitment grounds. Fuji's transformation haunts the lore most poignantly. From a man kneeling by his daughter's grave, whispering promises to the rain, to pacing sterile halls under Giovanni's gaze, clipboard in hand, authorizing neural implants. Mew's DNA bridged his worlds, but at what cost? Mewtwo's birth on February 6th marked the fracture. Mewtwo lashed out, flooding the labs, burying secrets under rubble. Fuji vanished, leaving only journals to testify. As the smoke cleared from Cinnabar, deeper mysteries lingered in Mew's ancient ties, pulling us toward Chapter 15, the ancient tribes and the sunrise. What rituals did those jungle guardians perform at dawn? And how did they first commune with the ancestor hiding in plain sight? Giovanni's hunger for power over the genetic ancestor blinded him to the deeper reverence. Mew commanded long before any lab coat or corporate scheme touched its legacy. Deep in the shadowed annals of Pokémon radio dramas, whispers emerge of ancient civilizations that once blanketed the jungles of Guyana. Tribes whose very existence revolved around the fleeting pink silhouette they called their dawn spirit. These weren't fleeting myths, scribbled in modern journals, but oral histories etched into stone altars and passed down through generations, reserved in the radio play known as the birth of Mewtwo. Picture the humid veil of night, lifting over vine-choked ruins, where elders gathered their people on sacred clearings, their faces painted with ochre symbols mimicking Mew's embryonic form. They believed Mew wasn't just a creature, but the cradle of all life, a being that birthed the Pokémon world from its own infinite DNA. Every year, as the first rays pierced the canopy, they performed rituals, chants rising like mist, offerings of rare jungle fruits laid at weathered monoliths. This was no casual worship. It was a covenant, a plea for Mew's blessing on their hunts, their births, their survival against the encroaching wilds. In those radio episodes, the story unfolds through the voice of Miyamoto, Jessie's mother, a Team Rocket operative sent 20 years before the main series to track this elusive entity. She stumbles upon remnants of these tribes, their descendants still clinging to the old ways, guarding scrolls that detail Mew's visitations. The air thick with incense from smouldering herbs, the tribe leaders would recount how Mew, invisible to the unworthy, materialized only at the precise moment of sunrise. Its cry, a high-pitched melody that Miyamoto captured on her recorder, echoed through the valleys, a sound that stirred the soul like the first breath of creation. They described it hovering, wings unseen, but felt in the sudden warmth on their skin, eyes glowing with the soft pink of pre-dawn skies, before vanishing as swiftly as it came. These ritualistic sightings at the first light of dawn weren't accidents. They were sacred appointments, Mew honoring the faithful who never demanded its capture, only its presence. What fueled these tales across centuries? The tribe spoke of Mew's playful curiosity in youth, tumbling through treetops, mimicking the calls of birds and beasts it would one day spawn. But as eons wore on, that playfulness curdled into caution. Humans multiplied, their ambitions sharpening like spears. Mew withdrew, not into oblivion, but into a profound seclusion, revealing itself solely to those pure of intent during that golden threshold between night and day. This is how Mew's supposed extinction took shape, a form of extreme reclusiveness, a deliberate fading from the world's greedy gaze. No cataclysm ended it. Mew simply chose the shadows, emerging only for dawn's quiet witnesses, its psychic essence shielding it from nets and probes alike. The journals in Pokémon Mansion hint at this too, calling it long extinct until that fateful rediscovery. But the radio dramas peel back the veil, showing a guardian who never truly left, just grew impossibly elusive. Feel the weight of that choice in the jungle's hush, just before light breaks. The tribes learn to wait, their fires dimming to embers, breaths synchronized with the rustle of leaves. Mew's appearances weren't spectacles for the masses. They were intimate communions, a pink flicker against the horizon that reaffirmed life's fragile web. Even Miyamoto, hardened by her mission, felt a pull toward this ancient rhythm, her tape recorder capturing not just a cry, but a fragment of eternity. These stories bridge the gap between primordial awe and modern obsession, explaining why Mew evades trainers today. It's not gone, merely selective, a dawn ghost, honoring rituals older than the Pokédex itself. This reclusiveness echoes through other lore, like the mystery dungeon tales, where Mew safeguards relics in buried depths, emerging only when the balance teeters. Yet the radio dramas ground it in human memory, those Guyana tribes persisting in hidden enclaves, their sunrise vigils a secret flame against time's erosion. Giovanni's schemes pale against this timeless bond, a reminder that Mew's true power lies not in domination, but in patient revelation. As we turn toward Chapter 16, Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, you'll uncover how this Dawn Guardian intersects with a steel-furred Aura Master in ways that redefine loyalty and hidden visions. Stay with me to see the spark ignite. Those ancient tribes, gathering at dawn to witness Mew's fleeting dance in the first light, weren't just honoring a distant myth. Their rituals whispered of a deeper bond, one that echoed through centuries, until a lone Lucario would unravel its secrets. In the 8th Pokémon movie, Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, we step into a world where Aura, the invisible energy flowing through all living things, reveals Mew's hidden refuge. Picture the vast crystalline canopy of the Tree of Beginning, rising like a colossal heartbeat from the earth in the kingdom of Cameron. This isn't some ancient relic carved by time. It's a living organism, pulsing with veins of glowing blue energy, its branches twisting into labyrinthine halls that shelter countless Pokémon. Deep within its core, Mew finds sanctuary, a pink silhouette darting through iridescent chambers, playful yet profoundly tied to this colossal being. The tree cradles Mew not as a prisoner, but as its eternal guest, shielding it from the world's chaos, while Mew's presence infuses the structure with vitality. What makes this bond so mesmerizing is the symbiotic relationship between Mew and the world's ecosystem. The Tree of Beginning isn't isolated. Its roots delve into the planet's core, drawing from oceans, forests, and skies to regulate global balance. When droughts parch distant lands or storms rage unchecked, the tree absorbs excess energy, redistributing it like a living filter. Mew, with its genetic essence holding the blueprint of every Pokémon, acts as the catalyst. It flits through the tree's veins, channeling psychic waves that harmonize the flow, ensuring pollen drifts on perfect winds, rivers carve nourishing paths, and herds migrate without peril, disrupt the tree and ecosystems unravel. Flowers wither en masse, skies darken with unnatural clouds. Mew sustains this harmony, its transformability mirroring nature's adaptability, turning chaos into renewal. Yet here's the quiet enigma that Lucario confronts. Why would Mew, this being of immense psychic power, capable of bending reality, levitating mountains, or vanishing into ether, require a guardian at all? The answer lies in the tree's fragility. Despite Mew's godlike abilities, the tree itself is vulnerable, its crystalline heart prone to shattering under cosmic threats, like meteor showers that pummel the skies. Mew could obliterate such dangers with a thought, but its nature is one of pure curiosity and joy. Childlike, almost naive in its wanderlust, it dances through the world, learning moves from every corner, too free-spirited to stand eternal vigil. Enter the Aura Guardians, humans and Pokémon attuned to the energy web, like the legendary Sir Aaron from 1,000 years past. They pledged their lives to protect the tree, using aura spheres to deflect debris, their senses extending Mew's reach without binding its whims. Lucario, revived from a frozen crystal atop the tree's peak, inherits this mantle. Awakened by Ash's voice echoing Aaron's own, it senses the tree's distress, a massive meteor swarm hurtling toward doom. Through aura vision, Lucario beholds the tree's inner world, Mew gliding alongside Keldeo-like figures, ethereal guardians of old, all woven into the ecosystem's pulse. The betrayal of Aaron, who sacrificed himself to save the kingdom rather than the tree, weighs heavy, but Lucario presses on, channeling waves of blue energy to hold back the onslaught. Mew watches, not intervening directly, its eyes sparkling with trust in this new protector. As the tree quakes, crystals fracturing like shattering glass, the symbiotic ties strain. Far-off oceans recede, winds howl in fury mirroring the tree's pain. Mew finally stirs, its psychic prowess amplifying Lucario's efforts, merging their powers in a radiant climax. The meteor shatters, harmony restored, but the revelation lingers. Mew's power thrives not in solitude, but in guardianship, a delicate weave where even the ancestor relies on allies. This tale peels back layers of Mew's mystery, showing how its sanctuary demands vigilance beyond psychic might. But as we trace these threads of creation and protection, an even greater clash looms on the horizon. In the next chapter, Arceus versus Mew, the creator debate will confront the ultimate question: who truly birthed the Pokémon world? Stay with me as we delve into that cosmic rivalry. Within the vast, pulsating heart of the Tree of Beginning, Mew drifts like a fleeting dream, its psychic essence intertwined with every leaf, every root, sustaining the delicate balance of ecosystem across distant lands. This symbiosis hints at something far grander, a primal force that predates trainers, Pokeballs, and even the regions we know. What if Mew isn't just a guardian, but the very spark from which all Pokémon life emerged? This question ignites one of the most heated theological conflicts in Pokémon lore. The clash between Arceus, the so-called god of Pokémon, and Mew, the genetic origin. Picture the Sinnoh region's ancient scrolls, etched with tales of a formless void shattered by divine will. Arceus, the alpha Pokémon, burst forth from nothingness, its wheel-like plates spinning to birth the universe itself. From its body emerged Dialga, master of time, Palkia, shaper of space, and Giratina, exiled to the distortion world for its wrath. Legends from Pokémon Diamond and Pearl proclaim Arceus as the creator who forged the world plate by plate, seeding continents and skies before retreating to the Hall of Origin. Devotees in Sinnoh temples whisper prayers to this deity, viewing it as the ultimate architect, omnipotent and eternal. Yet, far across the ocean in Kanto-shadowed labs, and Guyana's mist-shrouded jungles, a starkly different origin story unfolds, one grounded not in myth, but in the cold precision of DNA. Mew enters here as the counterpoint, the elusive pink phantom whose cells hold the blueprint of every Pokémon species. Journals from the Pokémon Mansion on Cinnabar Island describe its rediscovery on July 5th, a tiny, levitating marvel captured through sheer scientific audacity. Its genetic code, analysed and cloned into Mewtwo, reveals a truth. Mew contains the DNA of all Pokémon, allowing it to transform into any form, regenerate from near death, and even de-evolve others in forgotten card game rituals. Kanto's narrative for evolution not as divine fiat, but as biological inevitability. Mew as the common ancestor, scattering its essence through ancient migrations, birthing Caterpie to Charizard through natural selection. No gods, no plates. Just a singular organism from which diversity exploded like a cosmic Big Bang of genes. This theological conflict between the god of Pokémon and the genetic origin tears at the fabric of the Pokémon universe. Arceus embodies pure creation ex nihilo, a metaphysical force beyond science, while Mew represents empirical origins, a fossilized relic verifiable by lab instruments in games like Pokémon Legends. Arceus, the deity's presence, looms over Hisui's primal landscapes, commanding legendaries in a hierarchical court. Mew, meanwhile, flits through the anime's periphery, playful yet omnipresent, evading capture as if mocking human hubris. Fans clash in forums and theories. Does Arceus's creation myth supersede Mew's science, or is Kanto's tale a secular retelling of Sinnoh's gospel? The tension peaks in crossovers, where Sinnoh's creation events unfold billions of years ago. Yet Mew's jungle hideaway suggests a more recent, earthly genesis. Enter the fan theories attempting to bridge the gap between Sinnoh's creation myths and Kanto's science. These ingenious reconciliations weave the two into a unified cosmology. One popular idea posits Mew as Arceus's first earthly emissary. After forging the universe, the alpha Pokémon crafts Mew from its own divine essence, embedding all potential Pokémon DNA within it. Mew then plays the role of genetic ark, populating the world as Arceus observes from afar. This explains Mew's transformability as an echo of Arceus's plate-shifting forms, and its invisibility as a remnant of godly intangibility. Another theory flips the timeline. Arceus creates the framework, time, space, antimatter, but Mew emerges spontaneously in the primordial soup, its DNA evolving under Dialga's temporal flow, making it the bridge between divine spark and Darwinian proliferation. Deeper still, these debates reveal the hierarchy of mythical Pokémon in the grand timeline of the universe, a layered pantheon stretching from eternity's dawn to humanity's dawn. At the apex sits Arceus, timeless and unchallenged, predating even the distortion world. Below it the creation trio, Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, enforce cosmic laws, their era marking the universe's infancy, perhaps trillions of years before recorded history. Lake Guardians Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf follow, birthing knowledge, emotion and willpower to prepare the world for life. Then, in a controversial pivot, Mew slots in as the biological progenitor, its era overlapping Hisui's ancient migrations, seeding species across continents, while mythicals like Celebi guard time rifts and Jirachi slumber for millennia. This hierarchy isn't rigid, it's a fan-forged tapestry blending game codexes, anime episodes, and manga arcs. Victini ignites human civilization eons after Mew's diversification, while later mythicals like Genesect represent artificial echoes of Mew's genetic primacy. Arceus oversees all, but Mew permeates the mortal coil, its jungle cries echoing ancient tribes' sunrise worship, as if whispering that science and myth are two sides of the same Pokeball. Conflicts arise in titles like Pokémon Super Mystery Dungeon, where Mew aids against existential threats, hinting at alliances across the hierarchy. Genetic origin rallying beneath the god above, yet these bridges leave tantalizing voids. If Mew holds every DNA strand, did Arceus encode it first, or did Mew's whims shape the deity's legends? Guyana's expeditions and Sinnoh's ruins hold clues, buried in untranslated tomes and glitchy Pokédex entries. As we ponder this eternal debate, whispers emerge of Mew's accessibility in our world today, through a device that brings its digital ghost into reality. That story unfolds in Chapter 18, the Pokeball Plus and Modern Access, where hidden codes and contemporary hunts reveal just how close the genetic origin remains. While the eternal debate between Arceus as the divine architect and Mew as the genetic cradle of all Pokémon lingers in the whispers of fan forums and ancient scrolls, the tangible chase for this elusive ancestor underwent its most profound transformation right here in our connected world. Back in the days of the original Game Boy cartridges, Mew demanded devotion. Players scoured glitchy code, mastering the precise surf from the coast of Cinnabar Island shores, timing waves just so to nudge their character through invisible walls into that forgotten chamber. It was raw, forbidden alchemy, a pink sprite flickering into existence only for those willing to risk soft-locking their save file forever. That glitch, whispered about in playground codes and dog-eared strategy guides, turned Mew into a badge of true mastery, a secret shared among the initiated like a sacred rite. But as Pokémon evolved from pixelated rumors to sprawling digital empires, Game Freak began reshaping the path to Mew's capture. No longer confined to hexadecimal hacks or magazine-fueled myths, the 151st Pokémon stepped into the spotlight of official distributions. First through Nintendo events, where fans queued for hours at stores, hands trembling as they received event cartridges or mystery gifts via infrared ports. These were fleeting windows, coordinates broadcast on websites or radio waves, demanding you be in the right city at the right hour. Mew felt alive in its scarcity, a comet streaking across your screen before vanishing again, leaving you with tales to tell but no easy replay. Then came the Nintendo Switch era, and with it, a seismic pivot that commodified the once mystical hunt. Picture this: the Pokeball Plus, a gleaming 50 hardware peripheral launched alongside Pokémon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee in 2018. No longer did you need to exploit forgotten glitches or chase fans across continents. This little orb, cradled in your palm like a real Pokeball, synced wirelessly to your Switch via Bluetooth and NFC magic. Press its glowing button at your in-game Pokémon Center, and out popped Mew, shimmering, fully leveled at 30, ready to join your party without a single cheat code. It was the ultimate evolution of accessibility, turning a secret from the 90s into a retail impulse buy, bundled right there on store shelves with the game. This shift marked the dawn of the Let's Go era, where Mew's aura transformed from underground legend to premium collectible, the 151st Pokémon now packaged as an exclusive perk for early adopters and hardware enthusiasts. Developers leaned into nostalgia, remaking the Kanto region with motion controls and AR flair, but Mew's inclusion via the Pokeball Plus felt like the final seal on its mainstream coronation. Fans who once pored over GameShark codes could now walk into GameStop, drop their cash, and walk out with the genetic ancestor nestled in their device, transferable across titles like Sword and Shield, or even into Pokémon Home for eternal safekeeping. It streamlined the dream, democratizing what was once elite sorcery. Yet in doing so, it etched a new chapter in Mew's saga, from glitch hunter's grail to shelf-ready merchandise. Of course, this ease came at a quiet cost. The slow erosion of mystery in our age of constant connectivity, where glitches once sparked global conspiracies and late-night trading sessions on bulletin boards. Today's players tap an app notification for event codes redeemable from their couch. Streaming platforms overflow with walkthroughs. Discord servers ping instant glitch recreations, and data miners dissect ROMs before launch day. Mew, that jungle phantom who eluded Mr. Fuji's expedition and fooled Team Rocket's grasp, now arrives via firmware updates and online queues. The thrill of the unknown, that electric buzz of maybe, just maybe, stumbling upon the pink impossibility solo, fades into algorithmic certainty. Pokémon Go pulses with community days where Mewtwo raids summon hordes to parks, and virtual reality teases even closer encounters. In this hyperlinked reality, The ancestor's invisibility cloak slips away, replaced by push notifications and pre-order bonuses. Yet even as accessibility reigns, echoes of Mew's enigma persist in the hardware's subtle whims. The Pokeball Plus occasionally chirps Mew's cry, unprompted, a ghostly reminder vibrating in your pocket long after the transfer. It hums with potential, sinking steps like a pedometer to hatch eggs in Go, but its core gift lingers as a bridge between eras. Players still share stories of their first glitch-caught Mew, traded through generations of consoles, clashing nostalgically with the plug-and-play purity of today. This duality keeps the flame alive, even as the world shrinks smaller. And just when you think the myths have all been unpacked, some tales veer into the truly outlandish, like the peculiar connection to a Danish band that fueled wild speculation among early fans. We'll unravel that and other bizarre legends in Chapter 19. The Danish band and other bizarre myths, even with the Pokeball Plus handing out Mew like a modern-day event ticket, and the Let's Go games turning that elusive pink sprite into something you could buy for $50 at any store. The whispers never fully died. Mew's shadow stretched far beyond the glitches and the distributions, into corners of fan lore where reality blurred with pure invention. Picture dial-up forums in the late 90s buzzing with tales that had nothing to do with Guyana jungles or Cinnabar labs. Stories born from coincidence, desperation for more secrets, and the raw hunger of kids piecing together a puzzle with half the pieces missing. One of the strangest threads to tangle up in Mew's web was the supposed link to a Danish rock band sharing the exact same name. It started small, around the time Pokémon Red and Blue hit the West in 1998. Fans digging through early internet archives stumbled on Mew. The band, formed in Copenhagen back in 1994, group of indie dream pop musicians with ethereal vocals and swirling guitars. Their self-titled debut album dropped in 1999. Writers' Mew mania peaked, and suddenly message boards lit up. Was this some hidden nod from Game Freak? Did Satoshi Tajiri sneak in a reference to his favourite obscure European act? The theory snowballed. The band's logo looked vaguely like a floating psychic blob. Their lyrics evoked mystery and transformation. And hell, they even had a song called New Moon that fans twisted into Mewtwo prophecy. Conspiracy posts claimed Nintendo's international teams coordinated it, that concert flyers in Denmark hid Pokédex codes, or that the band's frontman Jonas Bjerre was a secret Pokémon insider who'd leaked Mew's cry for their album samples. But peel back the layers, and it crumbles like a poorly rendered sprite. The band Mew predated Pokémon's global explosion by years, rooted in Denmark's 90s alt-rock scene with zero ties to Japan. Game Freak programmers like Shigeki Morimoto were buried in code, not scanning Scandinavian music charts. Tajiri drew Mew from childhood memories of bugs and forest clearings, not Copenhagen gigs. Interviews with the band later dismissed it outright. Pure coincidence, they said, amused by the frenzy. No shared staff, no licensing deals, no Easter eggs. It was just two unrelated entities claiming the same short, punchy name. A mythical cat thing from the Amazon, and a band channeling Radiohead vibes. Yet the rumour endured, reprinted in fanzines and early YouTube rants, a testament to how Mew's aura magnetised any loose thread into myth. Fans wanted layers, hidden meanings, so they wove them from air. That same creative spark ignited even wilder fires in the early 2000s, when broadband trickled in and fan art exploded across sites like DeviantArt and Pokémon fan forums. Enter the Mew3 rumours, one of the most persistent fake leaks to ever haunt the community. It began with a single piece of artwork around 2002, a hulking, purple-tinged evolution of Mewtwo, drawn by a teenage artist blending Mew's playfulness with Mewtwo's rage. Titled something innocuous like, "What if Mew evolved further?" It showed a triform beast with 3 tails, psychic storms crackling from its eyes, labelled Mewtwo 5 1.5. Posted anonymously, it went viral in pre-Twitter days, shared via chain emails and Geocities pages. Soon, blurry scan masqueraded as leaked beta sprites, from the upcoming third-generation games. Ruby and Sapphire whispers were everywhere, and fans filled the void. The hoax snowballed. Forged Pokédex entries circulated. Mewtwo, the ultimate psychic legend, born from Mewtwo fusing with ancient DNA relics. Fake trading cards surfaced on eBay, complete with holographic foil and bogus stats. 200 base speed, learnable moves like Psyche Burst. Forums debated its typing, pure psychic or dark fairy hybrid, and spun lore tying it to the Guyana expedition's lost samples. Even mainstream sites like Cerebi bit briefly before corrections, while kids traded glitch saves, claiming Mewtwo encounters in Emerald's embedded towers. It all traced back to that fan art, iterated endlessly by copycats, fueling midnight scans of game cartridges for hidden data. Game Freak never acknowledged it, of course. No such Pokémon existed. But the damage was done. Mewtwo became shorthand for the ultimate unobtainable, a ghost in the machine that players chased through empty ROM dumps and debunked glitches. And that's the heart of Mew's cultural footprint, isn't it? More than any other Pokémon, Mew embodied the unobtainable, the pink phantom dangling just beyond reach, whispering promises of completion. From its birth as Tajiri's late dev secret in Red and Green, coded in by Morimoto when space mysteriously freed up, Mew was designed to taunt. Number 151, absent from the Pokédex grind, accessible only through whispers. A surfing glitch off Cinnabar's coast, the 75% Nugget Bridge lottery in Japan, or those sacred Nintendo events years apart. Kids in the 90s traded urban legends like contraband. Did you hear about the guy in Japan who caught it in the Safari Zone, or the truck behind the SS Anne hiding its ball? Classrooms echoed with failed attempts. Friendships forged and broken over shared longs for that elusive cry. Mew's elusiveness seeped into everything. Anime episodes teased its glow in distant skies. Manga panels showed it dancing unseen among ruins. The first movie pitted it against its clone in a battle of pure instinct, invisible darts zipping through storm clouds, a reminder that true power hides, even in mystery dungeon realms. Mew guarded sacred flutes from shadowed vaults, appearing only to the worthy. Fans etched it into tattoos and fanfics as the ultimate prize. The one that proved your dedication, the capstone to a Pokédex forever incomplete without it. Trading card rarities, glitch videos racking millions of views today. The hype around every distribution from Pokémon Network to Go Tour Chicago. It all stems from that core allure. Mew wasn't just rare, it was the symbol of what gaming promised before loot boxes cheapened it. Discovery earned through myth, patience, and a dash of impossibility. In sleepier corners of the fandom, these bizarre tales, Mew the Band, Mewtwo Phantoms, kept the flame alive when official access commodified the hunt. They reminded us Mew was never fully tamed, its essence slipping through fingers like jungle mist. But as we linger on these echoes, a deeper question stirs about what Mew could undo, reversing the very chains of evolution that birthed its clones. Up next in Chapter 20, the devolution theory, where we unravel how this ancestor might rewind the Pokédex itself, turning powerhouses back to primal forms. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Those outlandish tales of Mewtwo fan art and the coincidental band names have faded into the realm of debunked whispers, but they remind us how Mew's mystique always pulls us toward deeper questions about its true nature. What if Mew didn't just hold the DNA of every Pokémon, but could actually reverse their very evolution? This idea isn't some fan speculation. It's embedded right in the mechanics of the Pokémon trading card game, where Mew wields a power that challenges everything we know about Pokémon growth. Consider the cards themselves, those glossy portals to strategic battles. In sets like the original base set and expansions through the years, Mew appears not just as a versatile psychic force, but as a catalyst for regression. Take the Mew card from the Neo Genesis series, or more pointedly, abilities in later printings like those in the XY era's ancient origins. There, Mew's genome hacking effect lets it copy moves, but dig deeper into promo cards and event distributions. And you find instances where Mew triggers a de-evolution state. Players activate it during their turn, attach Mew as an energy, or play it from hand, and suddenly an opponent's fully evolved powerhouse, like a Charizard or a Tyranitar, reverts straight back to its basic form. The board shifts in an instant. Your towering dragon shrinks to a vulnerable Charmander, stats plummeting, attacks forgotten. It's not mere flavor text, it's a game changer, forcing opponents to rebuild from scratch while Mew floats above the chaos, pink tail flickering with otherworldly control. This isn't random card synergy. The artwork captures it vividly. Mew hovering over a recoiling Pokémon, psychic waves rippling through its body, unraveling stages of evolution like threads pulled from a tapestry. Trainers who've mastered these decks describe the thrill. That moment when Mew's presence alone undoes hours of setup, turning evolved behemoths into fragile starters. In tournament play, it's led to heated debates at World Championships, with rulings clarifying how de-evolution strips away evolutions permanently until the end of turn, resetting the evolutionary ladder. Game Freak wove this in deliberately, echoing Mew's lore as the genetic ancestor. Why else would the Pokémon containing all DNA possess the key to rewind it? Now extend that to the biology of the Pokémon world, and Mew emerges as the ultimate reset button. Evolution in Pokémon isn't just a power-up, it's a profound transformation. Physical, genetic, even existential. Kadabra's spoon bends reality upon evolving from Abra. Scyther's blades sharpen into lethal precision as Scizor, but Mew, it can hit undo. Imagine a wild encounter in the Guyana jungles, where scientists like Mr. Fuji first documented it. A Machamp, four-armed juggernaut of the mountains, crosses paths with Mew. In a flash of psychic energy, those arms retract, the bulk melts away, and it regresses to match up. Then even further, if the lore stretches, to a pre-evolutionary state hinted at in ancient Pokédex entries. Mew's cells, brimming with every Pokémon's blueprint, flood the target with primordial code. Muscles soften, features simplify, power drains back to infancy. It's not destruction, it's reversion, a biological time machine pulling the Pokémon to its origins. This reset button explains so much about Mew's elusiveness. Why does it hide in treetops or vanish into invisibility? Perhaps to wield this power sparingly, lest it destabilize ecosystems. In the Pokémon Mansion journals on Cinnabar Island, faded entries speculate on DNA samples triggering unintended regressions in lab Pokémon, clues that Mr. Fuji grappled with before Mewtwo's birth. Fans theorize Mew uses it protectively, a rampaging legendary like Rayquaza, driven mad by ozone disturbances, could be de-evolved to its base instincts, calming the skies. Or in Mystery Dungeon realms, where Mew guards sacred relics, it regresses corrupted explorers back to their partner forms, restoring purity. But what does this mean for the future of Pokémon biology? If Mew can regress any species, it opens doors to forms we've never seen. Picture hybrid regressions, a Venusaur de-evolving not just to Bulbasaur, but blending with Mew's universal DNA to spawn proto-Pokémon. Slimy, amorphous blobs predating the Pokédex's 151. Scientists in the lore, poring over that single Guyana hair sample, dream of synthetic resets. Evolutions toggled on command, creating armies of instant basics or unlocking negative evolutions, forms beyond the standard chain. Team Rocket schemed with this. Giovanni eyeing Mew's power post-Mewtwo to devolve rivals' aces mid-battle. In a post-Arceus world, where creation myths clash with genetics, Mew could birth new branches, psychic-infused regressions yielding ghost types from steels, or flying types from rocks. The Pokédex might expand not forward, but backward, revealing ancestral shadows that reshape regions. Entire fan dissections on sites like Bulbapedia map these possibilities, cross-referencing TCG rulings with anime glimpses, like Mew playfully shrinking a Pidgeot in the movies, only for it to rebound stronger. It hints at evolution as reversible code, not one-way streets. Mewtwo itself, born from Mew's DNA, resists full regression, its artificial stability a flaw or feature in the clone. Future games might formalize this, a move called Devolution, or items mimicking Mew's aura, letting trainers experiment in labs or wilds. As we peel back these layers of regression and rebirth, Mew's form begins to blur even further, easing powers that defy gravity and sight themselves. Up next in Chapter 21, the invisibility and levitation factor will uncover how Mew slips through reality itself, leaving no trace but echoes in the wind. Powers that make its de-evolutionary touch seem almost tame by comparison. If Mew holds the key to undoing evolution itself, stripping Pokémon back to their primal forms, then what power lets it slip away unseen afterward, leaving only whispers in the jungle mist? That elusiveness defines Mew more than any other trait. A creature that dances on the edge of perception, revealing itself not to the bold or the lucky, but to those whose hearts carry no shadow of greed or malice. Deep in the lore, passed down through ancient tales and flickering journal pages from the Pokémon Mansion, Mew senses the purity within a trainer's soul, a psychic resonance that cuts through its veil like sunlight piercing fog. Picture the Guyana expedition. Those scientists pushing through tangled vines on July 5th, their lanterns casting shaky beams on something that shouldn't exist. They glimpsed it then, a fleeting pink shimmer, gone before nets could close. But why only to the pure-hearted? It's woven into Mew's essence, this guardian instinct. In the anime's shadowed corners and mystery dungeon realms, Mew evades capture not from fear, but discernment. Trainers driven by fame or power chase shadows, their ambitions echoing like the discord in Mew's sensitive mind. Yet a child with untainted wonder or an explorer fueled by simple awe draws it close. Think of the radio drama where Jessie's mother, Miyamoto, heard its cry during her search 20 years before the series began. A resolve unclouded by corporate chains. Mew emerged at dawn, worshipped by tribes who approached with offerings of fruit and song, their rituals free of conquest. This selectivity echoes in fan theories bridging Arceus' divine spark and Mew's genetic cradle, suggesting Mew tests worthiness, preserving its ancestral role from unworthy hands. That test manifests through Mew's mastery of invisibility, a psychic shroud so seamless, it bends light itself around its tiny form. But levitation takes it further, propelling Mew through realms where gravity yields like a sigh. Here enters the physics of its psychic bubble, a shimmering envelope of telekinetic force that Mew generates effortlessly. Imagine it as a self-sustaining field, warping air molecules into a low-density cushion, allowing flight without a single flap of its membrane tail. This bubble doesn't just lift. It refracts, cloaking Mew in near-perfect camouflage. Scientists in the Cinnabar Journal speculated on its mechanics, noting how the hair sample they collected pulsed with residual energy, hinting at quantum entanglement on a biological scale. What draws Mew to summon this bubble most often underwater or at high altitudes lies in the medium's purity. Beneath jungle rivers or in Guyana's hidden waterfalls, water muffles vibrations, its cool embrace amplifying the bubble's stability. No wind shear to disrupt, no thermal currents to betray position. Mew dives deep, bubbles trailing like ethereal pearls, navigating currents where predators falter. High above, in stratospheric drifts or mountain peaks shrouded in cloud, the thin air mirrors that aquatic hush. Oxygen sparse, pressures low, the psychic field expands unhindered, letting Mew soar silently over continents. Lore from the Tree of Beginning ties this to its symbiotic bond with ecosystems. Underwater realms teem with unevolved life, echoing Mew's de-evolutionary gift, while altitudes overlook the world's vast web, a vantage for its watchful eye. Glitches in red and blue let players surf to such spots, catching whispers of Mew before official events made it real. These preferences explain sightings clustered in remote eddies and summits, from South American canopies to Sinnoh's misty heights. Yet even there, appearances flicker brief as fireflies. Turn to the manga series, where Mew's debut etched itself in a glimpse of the glow. In those panels, inked with trembling lines, Mew materializes for heartbeats only. A boy lost in the forest, pure of intent, spots its glow amid bioluminescent fungi, tail curling like a question mark. It plays, levitating leaves into spirals, then vanishes into a psychic ripple, leaving the child forever changed. Later issues echo this. A trainer mid-journey, unburdened by badges or rivalry, feels a warm brush against their cheek, sees pink fur dissolve into rain. No prolonged chases, no battles won, just glimpses, enough to ignite myths, fueling the 90s frenzy where data miners unearthed its code, dubbing it the Holy Grail. Shigeki Morimoto's late-night addition to the game captured this essence perfectly. Mew's pink hue a hurried pixel choice under coloring limits, its levitation coded to defy maps. Fans chased it through surfing exploits off Cinnabar's shores, hearts pounding in basements, mirroring that pure pursuit. Even in the first movie, Mew weaves through Mewtwo's storm clouds, bubble intact, underwater origins clashing with its clone's rage. These moments build the aura, Mew not hiding from malice alone, but choosing revelation as a gift. As its invisibility fades into legend, one ability pulls everything together, the reason Mew commands every move in existence. In the next chapter, the Master of All Moves, we'll uncover how this genetic vault unleashes an arsenal no other Pokémon can match, transforming battles and lore in ways that redefine power itself. Mew's preference for soaring high above the clouds or vanishing into underwater realms, shielded by its shimmering psychic bubble, speaks to a creature unbound by limitations. Those rare souls with pure hearts who glimpse it don't just witness a fleeting pink shadow. They encounter the ultimate adapter, a Pokémon whose arsenal knows no bounds. In the core games, from the misty shores of Kanto to the vast digital battlefields of today, technical machines stand as gleaming discs packed with raw power. Capsules that teach devastating strikes like Earthquake's rumbling fury, Psychic's mind-bending waves, or Hyper Beam's cataclysmic blast. Most Pokémon can only absorb a fraction of these lessons, their bodies and essences, rejecting what doesn't align with their nature. But Mew defies this rule entirely. It alone masters every single technical machine, from the very first generation through to the sprawling libraries of moves in later eras. No other species comes close. Not the dragons that shrug off status effects, not the steels that repel most assaults, and certainly not the legends forged in divine fires. Mew devours them all, slotting Surf's tidal surges alongside Aerial Ace's razor winds, or blending Flamethrowers' inferno with Ice Beam's crystalline chill. This isn't mere game code convenience. It's woven into Mew's mythic fabric. Picture the jungles of Guyana, where it was first cornered, its DNA sample yielding secrets that birthed Mewtwo. That same genetic tapestry, lore insists, encodes the blueprint of every Pokémon alive, every flutter of a Pidgey's wings, every venomous fang of an Arbok, every thunderous roar of a Zapdos, all trace back to Mew's singular essence. So when a technical machine whirs to life, imprinting a move on another creature, it's like echoing a dormant memory from the ancestor itself. Mew doesn't learn these techniques. It remembers them, awakening potentials buried in its cells since the dawn of life. This versatility cements its throne as the origin point, the living archive from which all diversity springs. Evolve a Caterpie into a Butterfree, and you've branched one thread from Mew's infinite loom. But Mew remains the untouched source, capable of weaving any pattern without alteration. Trainers who unlock Mew through ancient glitches or modern events quickly grasp this godlike flexibility. In the heat of battle, where rivals stack type advantages like fortress walls, Mew slips through every crack. It can pivot from a bulky support role, layering screens and healing waves, to a sweeping assassin hurling coverage moves no specialist could dream of. Its competitive history reads like a saga of reinvention. Back in the glitch-ridden tournaments of the late 90s, Mew emerged from surfing exploits on Cinnabar's waves, a forbidden wildcard that upended metagames dominated by rigid powerhouses like Snorlax or Tauros. Players whispered of its jack-of-all-trades curse, never the hardest hitter, never the tankiest wall. Yet that very neutrality made it indispensable. Fast forward through the generations, and Mew's legacy endures in the cutthroat arenas of the video game championships. In the Uber tiers, where gods clash without mercy, it dances on the edge, outlasting foes with aura spheres, mystic punches, or nasty plots surging intellect boosts. Generation 4 saw it shine in doubles formats, its tailwind whipping allies to victory, while soft-boiled kept the team afloat. By Generation 6, with fairy types reshaping the wheel, Mew adapted again, layering knockoff to strip items and U-turn to scout escapes. Even in the balanced singles of Sword and Shield, vets swear by its utility. A roost for recovery, a defog to clear hazards, all while threatening with Sistrike's phantom echoes. Tournaments ban it outright in some rule sets, not for raw stats, but because its boundless toolkit warps strategy itself. One veteran from the 2012 Worlds Finals recalled piloting Mew to the semis, calling it the ultimate Swiss Army knife. Versatile enough to counter any deck, yet demanding genius to wield without spreading thin. This mastery ripples beyond battles into the Pokémon world's quiet corners. In the Mystery Dungeon realms, Mew guards ancient relics, its form shifting to match any peril. Anime glimpses show it mimicking moves mid-flight, a playful nod to its infinite repertoire. Fans pore over data mines from the original cartridges, marveling at how Shigeki Morimoto squeezed this polymath into leftover bytes, pink hue and all. Yet for all its adaptability, Mew rarely flaunts it, preferring Invisibility's veil, emerging only when the stars align with a trainer's resolve. Those journals from the Pokémon Mansion, singed but surviving, hint at experiments pushing Mew's limits further still. What if its TM affinity unlocked something darker? A fusion of moves no clone could replicate. The fire that ravaged Cinnabar Island nearly erased those pages forever, swallowing secrets in flames that still smoulder in trainer tales. We'll uncover what blazed through that inferno next in Chapter 23. The Cinnabar Island Fire. That blueprint of all Pokémon life, Mew's DNA, became the spark for humanity's greatest ambition and its most devastating downfall. Deep within the smouldering ruins of the Pokémon Mansion on Cinnabar Island, scattered journals whisper of a discovery that should have remained buried in the jungles of Guyana. Those yellowed pages, singed at the edges, recount how a team of scientists, driven by dreams of godlike creation, extracted a single hair from the elusive Mew and twisted it into something far more ferocious. The mansion itself stood as a monument to unchecked curiosity. Perched on the volcanic slopes of Cinnabar, its laboratories buzzing with the hum of centrifuges and the glow of gene sequencers late into the nights, Mr. Fuji, the expedition leader who first named Mew on July 10th after its sighting on July 5th, oversaw the project with a mix of reverence and hubris. They called it the ultimate experiment, splicing Mew's complete genetic archive, the DNA of every Pokémon species, into a vessel designed for raw power. On February 6th, the clone stirred to life, baptized Mewtwo, a being engineered to surpass its progenitor in every way. But power like that doesn't awaken quietly. Whispers in the journals hint at the early signs of trouble. The clone's psychic energies warped the air around its incubation chamber, shattering glassware and flickering lights. Scientists noted anomalies, invisible forces rifling through files, faint cries echoing from the vents like Mew's own recorded wail from ancient tribal rituals. Was it the original Mew, drawn back by some primal instinct to protect its essence? Or Mewtwo, already resenting the sterile tubes that birthed it? The air grew thick with ozone, the scent of scorched wiring mingling with the metallic tang of fear. Then came the fire. It erupted without warning, flames leaping from the lower levels where the cloning vats simmered, racing up through the mansion's wooden beams and stone corridors. The blaze was ferocious, fueled not just by volatile chemicals, but by something otherworldly. Eyewitnesses on the island, fishermen and trainers, spoke of a dome of psychic energy enveloping the building, blue-white and pulsing, before the roof caved in. The heat was so intense it melted Pokeballs left in the ruins, fusing them into twisted slag. By dawn, the Pokémon Mansion was a husk, its secrets reduced to ash, accessible only to those brave enough to navigate the crumbling halls in later years. Speculation has swirled around that catastrophe for decades. Did Mewtwo, fresh from its tube and seething with betrayal, unleash a psychic storm to eradicate its creators? The clone's lore paints it as a vengeful force, much like in the first movie, where it drowns an island in fury. Those journals end abruptly with frantic scrawls. It's breaking free. God help us. Mewtwo could have torn the place apart from within, its raw power amplified by rage, turning the lab into a pyre for the hands that forged it. Yet darker theories point to Mew itself. As the genetic ancestor, the guardian of all Pokémon evolution, what if Mew sensed the perversion of its DNA? Invisible and omnipotent, it could have descended like a wrathful spectre, its levitation carrying it through the vents, its regenerative aura twisting into destructive force. Imagine the original, playful sprite turning fierce, unleashing a transform-fueled barrage, or a psychic bubble that ignited the gases below. The journals mention a presence watching, a giggle in the shadows before the alarms blared. Mew's power, after all, rivals even its clones. In episodes like In the Palms of Our Hands, it holds its own without flinching. Did the true ancestor intervene to cauterize the wound humanity inflicted on nature's blueprint? And what of the scientists themselves, those who dared play God with Mew's DNA? Most vanished in the flames. Their bodies never recovered amid the rubble. Charred logs list names, geneticists, ethicists turned enablers, reduced to footnotes in the Pokédex entries. Mr. Fuji survived, they say, but broken, retreating to Saffron City as a reclusive elder, tending lost Pokémon in quiet atonement. Others whisper he communed with Mewtwo afterward, binding the clone's soul in some fragile truce. Team Rocket's shadow looms too. Giovanni's operatives allegedly stole samples, accelerating the disaster. Were they collateral in the blaze, or did they fan the flames to cover their tracks? The ruins hold no answers, only echoes, faint psychic hums that trainers still report today, a reminder that some fires burn eternal. The inferno on Cinnabar didn't just destroy a building, it scarred the very lore of Pokémon creation, leaving us to ponder the line between discovery and doom. Those who tampered with Mew's essence paid the ultimate price, their hubris immortalized in the mansion's ghostly diaries. But the story doesn't end in ashes. In the next chapter, Chapter 24, the Mewtwo, a rivalry of souls, will uncover the electric tension between these two genetic titans, a clash that could redefine everything you thought you knew about power and origin. Stay with me as it unfolds, whether Mewtwo unleashed its fury in a blaze of vengeful psychic energy, or Mew's elusive presence ignited some unforeseen chain reaction at the Pokémon Mansion. The ashes reveal a deeper truth. These two psychic powerhouses, ancestor and clone, are locked in an eternal dance of rivalry. Mew, the ancient genetic blueprint, and Mewtwo, its engineered offspring, form what fans call the Mew duo, a pair whose clashes echo through every corner of the Pokémon world, from shadowed labs to storm-swept islands. Picture the jungles of Guyana, where Mew was first glimpsed on July 5th, its tiny form darting through vines like a living fossil. Scientists, led by the enigmatic Mr. Fuji, collected a single hair, naming it Mew on July 10th. That DNA became the spark for Mewtwo's birth on February 6th. Cloned not just to mimic but to surpass, forged in secret chambers by Team Rocket, or perhaps Fuji's own hand. The stories blur, but the result doesn't. Mewtwo emerged taller, more imposing, its sleek purple armor, a stark contrast to Mew's soft pink fuzz, eyes burning with artificial intellect that questioned its very existence. At their core, these two embody raw power measured in the Pokédex's unyielding stats. Mew stands balanced, a perfect symphony of 100 hit points, 100 attack, 100 defense, 100 special attack, 100 special defense, and 100 speed. A total of 600 base stats, versatile and unyielding, like nature's own equalizer. Mewtwo eclipses it with 106 hit points. 110 attack, 90 defense, 154 special attack, 90 special defense, and 130 speed, pushing a formidable total of 680. The clone boasts superior offensive might and swiftness. Its special attack, a psychic cannon, ready to shatter mountains, while Mew's even spread whispers of adaptability, regenerating wounds mid-battle, turning invisible to evade doom, levitating effortlessly above chaos. Mewtwo's bulkier frame trades some resilience for that explosive edge, its tail a whip of calculated fury where Mew's is playful curiosity. Comparing the stats and base powers of the ancestor, and the clone reveals not just numbers, but philosophies. Mew as the harmonious origin, Mewtwo as ambition amplified. Their encounters pulse with this tension, a recurring theme of nature versus nurture, playing out across games, films, and beyond. In Pokémon, the first movie, Mewtwo, born in sterile tubes, declares war on its creators, summoning storms over New Island to prove its supremacy. Yet Mew appears, not as a conqueror, but a guardian of purity, nurtured by wild freedom. It counters Mewtwo's clones with effortless grace, their beams clashing in a cataclysm of light and shadow. Mewtwo's rage stems from nurture's cruelty, lab-born isolation twisting its nature into hatred. Mew, untouched by human hands, embodies raw instinct, dodging psychic blasts with joyful acrobatics, forcing Mewtwo to confront the soul it was meant to mirror. This rivalry seeps into the games themselves. In Pokémon Stadium, they battle under spotlights, Mewtwo's Mega Evolutions, Y and X forms, swelling its stats to godlike heights, 160 special attack in its Y variant, armoured bulk in X. But Mew holds ground with aura spheres and ancient powers drawn from its infinite DNA library, de-evolving foes or transforming seamlessly. Mystery Dungeon casts Mew as a protector of the grass corner, its nurturing spirit aiding heroes against darkness, while Mewtwo lurks as a brooding force, its cloned existence a shadow of doubt. Even in Pokémon Go raids, Mewtwo dominates leaderboards with the Psystrike barrages. Yet Mew events remind players of the original's whimsy, hatching from eggs with moves no machine could predict. Why does Mew continue to haunt Mewtwo's existence across every medium? It's the ghost in the machine, the unaltered soul Mewtwo can never escape. In the radio drama The Birth of Mewtwo, ancient tribes worship Mew at dawn, its cry echoing through time, while Mewtwo awakens to silence and chains. Manga Like a Glimpse of the Glow shows Mewtwo pursuing perfection, only for Mew's fleeting visits to mock its isolation. Nature's child forever taunting the nurtured experiment, Super Smash Bros. Pits them in arenas where Mewtwo's shadow tag locks on, but Mew teleports away, a reminder that true power flows from freedom, not fabrication. Fan theories deepen the obsession. Mewtwo's higher stats symbolize humanity's hubris, pushing boundaries only to falter against Mew's balanced essence, the DNA ancestor that birthed all 150 originals. In Pokémon Adventures, Mewtwo clones armies, but Mew shatters them with barrier and soft-boiled recovery, nurturing life where destruction reigns. Their theme music intertwines, ethereal flutes for Mew, luminous synths for Mewtwo, mirroring souls at war. Mewtwo evolves, seeking redemption in later arcs like Genesect and The Legend Awakened, partnering with heroes, yet Mew's shadow lingers, the pure art it craves but resents. Encounters evolve, but the nature versus nurture debate endures. In the Palms of Our Hands episode, Mewtwo grapples with humanity on a sinking ship, Mew arriving not to fight but to heal, its levitation carrying the wounded to safety. Mewtwo's blasts carve canyons, Mew's transform copies them flawlessly, then adds psychic bubbles for evasion. Dev history flips the script. Mewtwo designed first in 1996, Mew retrofitted as ancestor, yet lore insists the reverse, making their rivalry a meta-haunt. Mewtwo quests for identity in every game, from Cerulean Cave to Kalos Labs, forever chasing the pink phantom that defines it. This soul-deep rivalry sets the stage for how Mew escaped obscurity, distributed worldwide in events that turned rumors into reality. Next, in Chapter 25, the global distribution era, discover the frenzied hunts, glitches, and official drops that made Mew the ultimate prize. Did you know one exploit let kids surf to its glitchy lair before Nintendo could patch it? Stay with me as we uncover those chaotic beginnings. While the eternal clash between Mew and its clone defined so much of their lore, a seismic shift occurred when Game Freak decided to shatter the secrecy surrounding Mew, thrusting it from elusive myth into the hands of players worldwide through meticulously planned global distributions. This marked the dawn of the global distribution era, where anniversary celebrations transformed the Pink Phantom into a household name. Picture the buzz in 2006, as Pokémon marked its 10th anniversary since the Japanese launch of Red and Green. Fans who had chased glitches and rumors for a decade finally had official channels to claim their prize. In Japan, Nintendo hosted massive events at Pokémon centers, handing out special cartridges loaded with a 10th anniversary Mew Shiny, event exclusive, stamped with the date to commemorate the milestone. These weren't just handouts. They required queuing for hours, proving your dedication to the franchise that started it all. Across the Pacific, similar distributions trickled into the West through magazines like Nintendo Power and Toys R Us promotions tied to Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes. Players inserted event tickets into their Game Boy Advances, and there it was. Mew, teleporting into their party with a fanfare of sparkles, its cry echoing the very first Jungle Discovery journals. For the first time, Mew wasn't a glitch-born secret or a data-mined phantom. It was real, tangible and yours, flooding fan sites with triumphant screenshots and trade posts. That momentum only swelled a decade later, in 2016, for the 20th anniversary extravaganza. Game Freak pulled out all stops with a year-long global assault of events. Pokémon centers in Japan overflowed again, distributing 20th anniversary Mews via infrared signals from handheld devices, trainers beaming the data directly to each other's games in packed plazas. In the West, it went digital, codes redeemable through Pokémon.com, serial events at GameStop stores, and even integration with the newly launched Pokémon Bank for transfers across generations. Millions downloaded these Mews, each one serialized with the anniversary ribbon, a digital badge of honor. By summer's end, forums lit up with stories of families bonding over shared hunts, kids experiencing the thrill their parents once chased through basements and playground trades. These events didn't just distribute Pokémon, they democratized the dream, turning Mew from a whispered legend into a staple in competitive teams and collection binders everywhere. But as these official floods saturated the market, a wild undercurrent emerged through the mechanics of Wonder Trades. Introduced in Pokémon X and Y, this feature let players dump a Pokémon into a global exchange pool, receiving a random one in return from anywhere on the planet. What started as a fun surprise quickly became a pipeline for event Mews. Trainers who'd scored anniversary distributions or stadium giveaways would Wonder Trade their extras, often hundreds at a time from bot farms or dedicated farmers. You'd send off a lowly Pidgey and get back a pristine 10th anniversary Mew or a 20th edition clone with perfect IVs. The logistics were brilliantly simple. Servers in Japan, Europe and North America churned through millions of trades daily, anonymizing origins and flooding lobbies. Suddenly, mythicals weren't rare anymore. The market drowned in them. Competitive players shrugged off once holy grails as fodder for breeding projects, while casual collectors amassed shinies and cereals like trading cards at a flea market. This saturation reshaped value entirely, making fresh event Mews commonplace, their ribbons fading into wallpaper status amid the endless cycle of trades. Yet amid this abundance, one Mew stands eternal as the ultimate prize, a legit one from 1996, pulled straight from the original Japanese red or green cartridges. These are the ghosts of development's endgame, obtained only through the precise surfing glitch on Cinnabar's coast or the Mewtwo-less truck rumor exploits before patches locked them away. No events, no trades, just raw, unadulterated access to Shigeki Morimoto's secret edition, its data untainted by modern hacks or rerolls. Collectors pay fortunes on auction sites, tens of thousands of dollars, for these fossils, verified by provenance logs and checksums proving their birth in the Game Boy's primitive RAM. Why? Because they embody the pure frenzy of Pokémon's infancy, the spark that ignited a global phenomenon before distributions diluted the chase. Holding one feels like owning a slice of gaming history, a pink time capsule whispering of basements filled with rumour-fueled all-nighters, far more coveted than any anniversary flood. In this era of easy access, Mew's journey from jungle spectre to traded ubiquity invites us to ponder what's next for its legacy. Join me in Chapter 26, The Future of the Myth, where we'll uncover the cutting-edge tech and untold plans poised to redefine Mew's place in Pokémon's evolving universe. Secrets that could make even your prized 1996 catch feel like just the beginning. As those anniversary events and wonder trades flooded the world with Mew, turning the once elusive Phantom into a staple on countless teams, its legend didn't fade, it transformed. What began as a glitch-born secret in 1996 now pulses through the veins of Pokémon's ever-expanding universe, whispering promises of stories yet untold. In the fresh winds of Pokémon Horizons, Mew emerges not as a distant myth but as a living spark in this new generation of storytelling. Picture the vibrant seas and skies where Liko and Roy chase their own horizons, and there, in subtle bursts of pink light, Mew darts through episodes like episode 111, evading capture with its signature invisibility. It's no mere cameo. Mew weaves into the narrative fabric, guarding ancient tablets that unlock secrets of the rising Volt Tackler's airship. This series, unbound by Ash's long shadow, reimagines the mythicals as active players in a globe-trotting adventure, where Mew's playful curiosity mirrors the protagonist's wide-eyed wonder. Directors craft it with a lighter touch, blending high-stakes exploration with heartfelt bonds, positioning Mew as a bridge between old lore and tomorrow's tales. No longer just the ancestor lurking in journals, it flits through holographic projections and psychic echoes, hinting at deeper connections to the terrestrial phenomenon and the explorer's shadowy ambitions. Horizons signals a shift. Storytelling that prioritizes ensemble casts and serialized mysteries, with Mew as the elusive catalyst, forever one step ahead, drawing young trainers into its eternal game of hide-and-seek. This evolution leaves us gazing back at the cradle of it all, those steamy jungles of Guyana, where on July 5th, scientists first brushed against its reality. Will we ever return there? Not in faded journal entries from Cinnabar's ruins, but in a full-fledged adventure. Imagine a Legend-style prequel echoing the time-bending trails of Hisui in Legends Arceus, but plunged into South America's wild heart. You trek through vine-choked canopies under relentless rains, notebook in hand like Mr. Fuji, deciphering tribal carvings that ancient peoples etched at dawn, honouring the pink spirit they called divine. Game Freak could unveil Guyana as a sprawling open region, teeming with proto-Pokémon forms derived from Mew's DNA, faint silhouettes of Caterpie twisting from its genes, or Rattata variants scampering in the underbrush. Mechanics would revolve around psychic tracking, using hair samples to lure it out, only for Mew to vanish in a levitating blur, forcing you to climb mist-shrouded tepuis or dive into emerald rivers. Conflicts arise with rival expeditions, perhaps early Team Rocket scouts or ethical scientists debating cloning's perils, all culminating in that fateful July 10th naming. Such a game wouldn't just revisit Guyana. It would resurrect the raw thrill of discovery, pitting your pure heart against the jungle's secrets, with Mewtwo's shadow looming as a post-credits tease. Fans clamour for it online, petitions swirling like fireflies, because what better way to honour the origin than to let us live it? Yet even without that prequel, the little pink phantom's grip holds firm 30 years later, its allure undimmed by time or accessibility. In 2024, as Pokémon towers past 1 billion downloads, Mew remains the ghost that haunts every Pokédex completionist's dreams, the one that got away, even when it's right there, nicknamed for its dainty rose-hued form, gliding like a will-o-wisp through folklore. It captivates anew in viral clips from Horizons or fan art, reimagining its Guyana lair. Why does it endure? Because Mew embodies the untamed wild in a franchise gone digital. It defies capture, regenerating from any wound, learning any move, a genetic tapestry fluttering just beyond reach. Conventions buzz with glitch recreations from Red and Blue, while theorists pit it against Arceus in endless debates. Who truly birthed the world? Its invisibility isn't just a power, it's a metaphor for childhood magic, the pink blur in your peripheral vision during a backyard playthrough. Parents share stories of 1998 rumors, with their kids dreaming Horizons. Passing the phantoms whisper down generations. In a sea of shiny variants and Gigantamax forms, Mew's simplicity shines eternal, small, mischievous, infinite. That timeless pull raises profound questions about what it means to chase the unknown. The ethics tangled in every sighting and clone. In our next chapter, Chapter 27, The Philosophy of Discovery, we'll delve into those very depths, uncovering layers that might just redefine how you see Mew forever. While visions of a Legends prequel linger, drawing us back to those uncharted jungles of Guyana, consider this. Mew didn't just hide in the code of the original games. It redefined what it means to discover something truly secret in a video game. Back in 1996, as Pokémon Red and Green wrapped up development in Japan, Satoshi Tajiri envisioned a Pokémon that existed but never appeared, a whisper in the data to ignite rumors and keep players hunting long after the credits rolled. That spark of mystery wasn't accidental. It was the birth of a philosophy that turned secrets into shared obsessions. You can almost feel the late nights at Game Freak, programmers poring over the final build, space freed up after stripping debug tools. Shigeki Morimoto, defying Nintendo's strict no-changes policy, slipped Mew in as number 151, a solid pink sprite born from palette limitations. It wasn't obtainable then. No events, no trades, just buried code that data miners sniffed out before the Japanese launch. Word spread like wildfire through playgrounds and early internet forums. The 151st Pokémon, the ghost in the Pokédex. Kids traded glitch stories, surfing glitches off Cinnabar Island to snag it, turning frustration into legend. Mew wasn't a reward. It was a promise of the unknown, teaching developers that true engagement blooms from what players chase but can't quite grasp. This approach reshaped how studios craft secret content forever. Before Mew, hidden elements were often straightforward Easter eggs or bonus levels, handed out like candy, but Mew flipped the script, proving that unobtainable teasers build worlds that live beyond the screen. Think of the frenzy it unleashed. Magazines like CoroCoro teasing its reveal in May 1996, right as the games hit shelves, fueling myths of a 155th Pokémon or ties to obscure Danish bands. Developers watched as communities formed organically, players bonding over shared hunts, dissecting code, inventing glitches. Was marketing genius disguised as mischief, showing that scarcity creates value. Games like The Legend of Zelda, with its masked secrets, or No Man's Sky's procedural mysteries, owe a debt here. Mew-proved secrets aren't just content, they're the glue that binds players into tribes. That legacy endures as the hidden character became a cornerstone for community building. Mewtwo might have been designed first, its lore retrofitted around a playful ancestor, but Mew's elusiveness turned solitary play into collective detective work. Families gathered around Game Boys, siblings whispering about the mansion journals on Cinnabar, piecing together Mr. Fuji's expedition logs from July 5th, the hair sample christened on July 10th. Fans debated if Team Rocket stole the DNA, or if Fuji himself birthed the clone on February 6th, their arguments filling bulletin boards and zines. Events years later, like the 10th and 20th anniversary distributions, felt like reunions, not handouts, because the hunt had forged unbreakable bonds. Even today, in Pokémon Horizons or Mystery Dungeon Tales, where Mew guards the grass cornet against dark matter, That spirit persists, reminding us how a single hidden sprite can spawn decades of fan art, theories, and lifelong friendships. At its core, Mew embodies the childhood wonder of the unknown, that electric thrill of peeking behind the curtain. Picture a kid in the 90s, Pokédex stuck at 150, rumour swirling of an invisible levitator that regenerates and learns every move through transform, carrying the DNA of all Pokémon in its tiny frame. Was it the genetic ancestor, outshining even Arceus in some fan debates, or extinct myth revived from South American depths? The anime's first movie painted it as omnipotent, dodging Mewtwo's blasts in aerial ballets, while radio dramas had Jessie's mother, Miyamoto, capturing its cry 20 years prior, tribes worshipping at sunrise. That wonder wasn't spoon-fed, it seeped from the cracks, glitches manifesting it under trucks. Event balls from 20 years ago traded like heirlooms. Mew whispers what every child craves. The world holds more than what's shown, and discovery is yours if you dare look deeper. In the Pokémon Mansion's charred remnants, those journals hint at ethics twisted by ambition, cloning gone awry. But Mew's true power lies in evoking playground magic. It de-evolves foes in card games, turns invisible mid-flight, defies extinction with playful curiosity. Developers learned from it to weave incompleteness into design, letting communities fill the voids with their own lore. From Fire Red and Leaf Green's expanded diaries to modern transfers via Pokeball Plus, Mew's philosophy endures. Reveal too much and wonder fades. Hide just enough and it multiplies. Yet for all its myths, the Holy Grail catches. The nature versus nurture duels with its clone. Deeper truths about Mew's origins and the forces that shaped it remain shrouded. Join me in Chapter 28, The Complete Truth, where we peel back every final layer from forgotten dev confessions to the ultimate revelation of what Mew truly started. You won't want to miss it. That hidden spark of secrecy, the one that bound players together in whispers and wild hunts, wasn't just a clever trick. It was the blueprint for Mew's eternal place in our world. From the dusty pages of those Cinnabar journals to the glowing screens of stadium events worldwide, Mew's story traces a path no other Pokémon can claim. Deep in the jungles of Guyana, South America, on July 5th, a team of scientists pushed through tangled vines and humid shadows, their flashlights cutting fragile paths. Led by the quiet determination of Mr. Fuji, they stumbled upon something impossible, a small ethereal creature, its pink form shimmering like mist in the dawn light. They called it Mew, but not yet, not for 5 more days. Those journals in the Pokémon Mansion capture the raw thrill of it. Yellowed pages filled with hurried sketches and frantic notes. A single hair plucked gently from its tail held the key to everything. DNA analysis would reveal the miracle. Mew carried the genetic code of every Pokémon species, the ancient ancestor from which all life in their world sprang. By July 10th, the name was official, etched into history like a legend reborn. Mew, they wrote, the closing entry in those journals, sealing its fate as more than a discovery. It became myth, but shadows lingered even then. That hair sample vanished into secretive labs, fueling dreams of ultimate power. Team Rocket, under Giovanni's iron grip, or perhaps Mr. Fuji himself in a haze of ambition, twisted it into Mewtwo. On February 6th, the clone emerged, a hulking shadow of psychic fury born from Mew's essence, designed as the most powerful Pokémon ever created. The lore splits here, journals hinting at stolen samples, radio dramas whispering of ancient tribal rites at sunrise, where Mew's cry echoed through Miyamoto's recordings 20 years before the anime world knew its name. Yet rewind to the real cradle of this tale, 1996 Japan, and the truth flips like a hidden switch. Pokémon Red and Green were nearly done, cartridges locked tight by Nintendo's final orders. No changes. Satoshi Tajiri dreamed of a secret, a rumor without form to ignite playground fever, a character that exists but doesn't appear. Enter Shigeki Morimoto, the programmer with a rogue byte or 3 to spare. After stripping debug code, 300 bytes lay empty, a digital void begging to be filled. Against all rules, he slipped Mew, In as number 150, a solid pink sprite born of palette limits, tucked beyond the 150 originals. Data miners sniffed it out pre-release, sparking the frenzy. The missing Pokémon, the glitch-born Holy Grail. That 300-byte hack exploded across oceans. By 1998, Red and Blue hit the US. Surfing glitches off Cinnabar's shores let kids snag Mew in basements lit by CRT glows. CoroCoro magazine teased it in May of 1996. But the real fire came from rumours. Whispers of a 155th, ties to Danish bands that were pure coincidence. Mewtwo, ironically, came first in design, its menacing form sketched before the ancestor it cloned from. Developers retrofitted Mew as the template, lore bending to fit the twist. Fire Red and Leaf Green in 2004 swirled those mansion journals. Movie screens in Mewtwo Strikes Back showed Mew's invisibility, dueling its raging offspring. A ballet of levitation and regeneration. From that jungle rediscovery, long thought extinct, guarding sacred cornets in mystery dungeon realms, shielding against dark matter in past lives, to anniversary distributions flooding wonder trades, Mew saturated the myth. Horizons teases its shadow in new tales. Legends games whisper prequels to Guyana's depths. Nature versus nurture plays eternal. Mew's playful transform learning any move, de-evolving foes in card battles, rivaling Mewtwo's raw stats in palm-held clashes. And there it is, the full arc. From Morimoto's 300-byte defiance, a secret squeezed into overfull code, to global icon gracing Pokeball plus drafts and 20-year celebrations. Mew didn't just start everything. It embodies the franchise's beating heart. In a world of 900+ species, where Arceus claims divine sparks, Mew remains the genetic wellspring, the elusive whisper that pulls us back. It's the thrill of the unobtainable, the ancestor whose DNA pulses in every Pikachu leap and Charizard roar. Developers learned from it. Secrets build bonds stronger than any shiny hunt. Mew endures because it mirrors us. Hidden potential waiting to transform. A legend named on July 10th that refuses to fade into journal's ash. As those final pages turn in the mansion's ruins, feel the weight of it settle. Mew, the complete truth, sleeping at the core of it all. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.